Oplan kalusugan sa DepEd. Halina't alamin atin ang tuklasin, mga health programs ating palaganapin. Tara na okay na okay. Oplan kalusugan sa DepEd. Halina't alamin atin ang tuklasin, mga health programs ating palaganapin. School-based feeding program ating pagtibayin. Wastong pagkain ating ihahain, mga batang kulang sa timbang. Ating pakakainin ng Go, Grow, and Glow. Adolescent reproductive health ay gawing gabay at patnubay ng batang mausisa ay di maranasan. Ang early pregnancy ay maiiwasan. Kalusugan ay mahalaga sa edukasyon ng mga bata. Tayo na't magkaisa, halina tayo'y sumama. Tara na okay. Oplan kalusugan sa DepEd. Halina't alamin atin ang tuklasin, mga health programs ating palaganapin. Tara na okay. Oplan kalusugan sa DepEd. Halina't alamin atin ang tuklasin, mga health programs ating palaganapin. National Drug Education Program or NDE kung tawagin. Ito'y paigtingin, mga bisyo'y alisin. Sigarilyo at droga'y dapat nang puksain. Water sanitation and hygiene in schools ating kompletuhin, 3 stars ay abutin. Malinis na tubig, segregated na toilet, group hand washing at may napkin na rin. Kalusugan ay mahalaga sa edukasyon ng mga bata. Tayo na't magkaisa, halina tayo'y sumama. Tara na okay. Oplan kalusugan sa DepEd. Halina't alamin atin ang tuklasin, mga health programs ating palaganapin. Tara na okay. Oplan kalusugan sa DepEd. Halina't alamin atin ang tuklasin, mga health programs ating palaganapin. Medical, dental, and nursing services na atin ding binibigay upang matugunan problemang pangkalusugan ng mga guro at kabataan. Kalusugan ay mahalaga sa edukasyon ng mga bata. Tayo na't magkaisa, halina tayo'y sumama. Tara na okay. Oplan kalusugan sa DepEd. Halina't alamin atin ang tuklasin, mga health programs ating palaganapin. Tara na okay. Oplan kalusugan sa DepEd. Halina't alamin atin ang tuklasin, mga health programs ating palaganapin. Tara na okay. Oplan kalusugan sa DepEd. Halina't alamin atin ang tuklasin, mga health programs ating palaganapin. Okay talaga sa DepEd. Okay talaga sa DepEd.
Welcome po sa ating Day 2 ng Okay sa DepEd, One Health Week Celebration 2021. Para sa pagsisimula, narito ang audio-visual presentation para sa makabayang awitin na susundan ng panalangin.
Ako'y anak ng lupang hinirang, kung saan matatagpuan ang timyas ng perlas ng silangan, nagniningning sa buong kapuluan. Taglay ko ang hiwaga ng silangan, at saan mang bayan o lungsod, maging timog, hilaga at kanluran, ang Pilipino ay namumukod. Sama-sama nating abutin pinagkamatayog na bituin, at ang aking tagumpay, tagumpay ng aking lahi, tagumpay ng aking lipi, ang tanging minimithi at hinahangat. Hangad ko'y tagumpay natin lahat. Ako ay may isang munting pangarap sa ating dakilang lupain, at sa sama-sama nating pagsisikap, sama-sama ring mararating ang iba't ibang galaw, iisang patutunguhan. Dito isang araw, isang kapuluan. Sama-sama nating abutin pinagkamatayog na bituin, at ang aking tagumpay, tagumpay ng aking lahi, tagumpay ng aking lipi, ang tanging minimithi at hinahangat. Hangad ko'y tagumpay natin lahat. Hangad ko'y tagumpay natin lahat.
Dear God, kayo po ang pinaka-understanding and pinaka-powerful. Kami po ay nagpapasalamat sa buhay pong binigay niyo po sa amin. Ngayon po ay nagsasama-sama ang mga taong different ang religions. Pero po sincerely po kami nagdadasal upang kami po ay maging united para makuha po namin ang aming goal. Gawin mo po kaming instrument ng love, light, and peace. Gabayan niyo po kami para po masundan namin ang inyong daan sa isang peaceful community at maging source ng happiness and hope sa isa't isa. Wish ko lang po maging nice ang place na ito sa lahat ng tao. Sa inyong kalooban at paggabay, sana po maging tulong ang activity na ito para mag-benefit ng marami. Gawin mo pong ligtas at malayo sa anumang sakit ang bawat isa sa amin. Kasi po scary po ang pandemic. Marami pong salamat, God, at mahal po namin kayo. Amen.
Para po sa unang bahagi ng ating Day 2, narito po ang ating butihing Nurse Gab para sa NDEP overview at role of the parent.
Isang mapagpalang araw sa ating lahat. Welcome po sa One Health Week celebration ng Oplan Kalusugan sa DepEd. Ako po si Nurse Gab, ang inyong lingkod ang magdidiscuss sa inyo ng National Education Program or NDEP. Para po sa brief background, ang RA 6425 or the Dangerous Drug Act of 1972 ay nabuo ang Dangerous Drug Board kung saan kasapi po ang ating kagawaran ng edukasyon. Noon po, bago tinawag na NDEP, ito ay tinatawag na COSDAP, kung saan ang ibig sabihin ay Comprehensive School-Based Drug Abuse Prevention Program. Activities are instructional modules, development, training conducted on leadership, effective parenting, and curriculum integration. From 1994, COSDAP ay pinalitan ng NDEP. At 1995, through Secretary Ricardo T. Gloria, gamit ang Dex Memo 388 Series of 1995, Institutionalization of NDEP in Schools. Ang RA 9165 or the Dangerous Drug Act of 2002. Ang RA 9165, Republic Act, Dangerous Drug Act of 2002 through Article 4 from Section 42 to 45, kung saan dun po pumapasok ang educational measurement. Ang Section 42 ay student organization at ang Section 43 naman po ay school curricula. Sa Section 44 naman po, pumapasok ang DepEd to support NDEP with the school officials and health personnel fully responsible for effective implementation. And sa Section 45 po, evaluation of materials. DepEd responsibilities for the support with the school head fully responsible for its effective implementation. Noong 2003, namabas po ang DepEd Order No. 5 Series of 2003 promulgating the implementation of rules and regulation of RA 9165, issued to create awareness on the provision of the law and on the responsibilities of teachers, school administrators, and students in implementing the law. About around 2009, lumabas naman po ang DepEd Order No. 12, Series of 2009, strengthening the National Drug Education Program in Schools. At noong 2010, dun po nabuo ang Barkada Kontra Droga Flagship Program. Noong 2016 naman po, lumabas ang DepEd Memorandum No. 200 Series of 2016, kung saan support the NDEP with the school head fully responsible for the fully effective implementation. Noong 2017, DepEd Memorandum No. 32 Series of 2017, yun naman po ang creation of Department of Education Drug-Free Workplace Committee. At dun din po lumabas no same na taon ang DepEd Order No. 37 Series of 2017, Department of Education Drug-Free Workplace Policy. At the same year, lumabas din po ang DepEd Order No. 40 Series of 2017 for the guidelines of conduct of random drug testing in public and private secondary school. So ano po ba ang target ng ating NDEP or National Drug Education Program? Ito po ay is a comprehensive education program which provides for a holistic approach to the problem of drug abuse. It was designed to enable all sectors to work collaboratively with the school system as the core, thereby unifying all sectoral endeavors. For our objectives, prevent drug abuse among students through development of desirable values, attitude, and practices. Maximize utilization of school resources which can contribute to the child cognitive, affective, and psychomotor development relative to the drug abuse prevention. Strengthen parent and community participation through viable linkages with multi-sectoral organization involved in the anti-drug abuse campaign. Provide in-service training of teachers and other school officials to enable them to help young people enhance their life skills which relate to the prevalence of drug abuse. Initiate research and studies. We have 5 components. At pumapasok po dito ang curriculum and instruction, co-curricular and ancillary services, staff development, and parent education and community outreach. Para po sa curriculum and instruction, sa component 1, curriculum and instruction, dito pumapasok po ang school handbook, film showing, integration of drug abuse, prevention subject areas, election of officers, at ganoon din po mga Boy Scouts, and integration in their lesson. For component 2, co-curricular and ancillary services, dito po pumapasok si leadership training, scouting, student organization and clubs, health counseling services, and barkada kontra droga. So for component 3, ang staff development, dito po pumapasok ang trainings or workshop para po sa ating scout leaders or DIS, kung saan ang ibig sabihin for drug abuse prevention integrated in scout kit, teachers on DAPE, meaning drug abuse prevention education, school admin on RA 9165, guidance counselors, conduct of NDEP conference, training of trainers on universal prevention curriculum. So ito po yung mga samples. So for component 4, parent education and community outreach, ito pong ating advocacy to parent on DAP, training of parents on effective parenting, involvement of LGUs, GOs, NGOs, including DOH, DSWD, PNP, PDEA, etc. Component number 5, monitoring, research, and evaluation, kung saan po periodic monitoring ating ginagawa, CAP survey, and search for best implementer, barkada, kontra droga. Ano ba ang composition ng NDEP management? So, unang-una nga po, andi dito sa ating screen, syempre, ang ating undersecretary, who is the member of Dangerous Drug Board, ang ating staff of BLSS HSD, ang ating regional coordinators, division coordinators down to school coordinators. So, isa rin po ang way natin, ang paglalagay ng NDEP corner or National Drug Education Corner sa bawat bulletin ng schools at even po sa mga rooms, kailangan meron po tayong ganyan. So, ano po ba ang tendency ng youth para po ma-involve sa drugs or sa pinagbabawal na gamot or habit? Unang-una, syempre, si boredom. Pag naboboard si bata or si estudyante o sino man siya, pumapasok sa kanya kung ano yung mga pwede niyang gawin. Kaya nagiging curious siya. Tapos doon napapasok yung experimentation. Ano kaya mangyari sa akin pag sinubukan ko to? Ano kaya feeling? Bakit kaya marami pa rin ibang gumagamit ng ganito? So, yun na rin po papasok sa explorative nature. Siyempre, mapapabarkada. Mapapasama sa hindi magandang kaibigan. Tapos, love for adventure. Siyempre, halimbawa, mountaineer. Magma-mountaineer ka. Pero meron palang hindi magandang dala yung kasama mo. Tsaka enthusiasm. So, barkada kontra droga. It is a peer group organized to provide and support school activities that promote awareness and intervention to drug abuse and its related issue. This group also support the project of the communities and its local government with the same objective. This organization is supported by the student, teachers, school administrators, barangay councils, local government unit, private institution, and other identified stakeholders. So, ang barkada kontra droga was born out of young peoples. Sila yung mga may desire na mamuno at maging role model para sa kanilang kapwa estudyante o kapwa nila kabataan. A symbol of healthy, drug-free youth group which embodies the qualities of most young people look for as a model group. Sila rin po yung God-fearing, self-disciplined, trustworthy, and sabi nga nila, true friend or best friend. So ito po yung mga samples ng kanilang objectives. So it aims to empower individual to be a catalyst within his or her peer groups in advocating healthy, drug-free lifestyle through involvement as a whole in activities. It is also a preventive education and information program to counter the dangerous and disastrous effect of drug abuse. Nationwide Barkadahan concept, ito po ay to collect action among the youth, student of the community, schools that would strengthen camaraderie, collaboration, cooperation, and solidarity in their common commitment to attain drug-free lifestyle. Barkada kontra droga specifically aims to establish a nationwide Barkada kontra droga movement to train people in advocating a healthy and drug-free lifestyle, to create a truly drug-free environment in home, school, and community, to encourage the productive use of time and engagement in a wholesome alternative activities, and to provide support services toward sustainability of Barkada kontra droga movement. So sa phase 1 po, dito po pumasok ang presentation ng Barkada kontra droga concept, enlistment and induction of Barkada kontra droga members, issuance of Barkada kontra droga IDs, guided with educational tours to relevant offices and rehabilitation institution. Sa phase 2 po, doon po lumabas ang launching of the campaign through Barkada kontra droga fun run or Barkada kontra droga concert with media coverage, series of media plug on Barkada kontra droga to create awareness, sustain interest on the program, and gain more advocates. Press release, news features through major newspapers and community news. So sa phase 3 naman po, dito naman po pumasok ang training of core groups on life skills, leadership in income, regenerating opportunities and resources, mobilization, organization of Barkada kontra droga chapters, formulation of actions, plans by BKD chapters, adoption alternative activities by the Barkada kontra droga chapters. Ito po yung mga indoor games, outdoor games, cultural, socio-civic activities, essay writing, poet writing, contest of slogan, jingle writing contest, on-the-spot painting contest. Diyan din po pumapasok po yung film showing, ang ating Barkada kontra droga dance contest. Ganun din po ang establishing ng Barkada kontra droga center and setting up of citizen brigade using call or text messaging to report cases of drug use and drug pushing. For the fourth phase, ito naman po yung recently lang pong sinalihan ng ating isang eskwelahan na search of outstanding Barkada kontra droga chapter leaders recognized and honors by active chapters and leaders. So, formula to win the fight against dangerous drugs is to no to drugs equal success. So, N is to nurture your dreams. O is obey the authorities. So, para po hindi tayo lagay sa alanganin o magkaroon ng bahid ang ating pangalan, we need to obey our authority. D, don't even think about using it. R, resist negative peers and pressures. So, layuan po natin ang ating mga masasamang kaibigan. wala naman po tayong sinasabing masama sila unless na lang talaga ay kayo ay hinihikayat pumunta o gawin ng isang bagay na alam niyo namang mali. Use healthy alternatives. So, dito po pumapasok si sports, jogging, biking, ganun din po ang mga recollection. Biking. G is for God is the only answer. So, kung halimbawa, kayo ay nilalapitan ng hindi magandang kaibigan, ipagdasal nyo na lang siya na naway magbagong kanyang isipin at kanyang gawain. And S, say no to drugs. Madali naman pong sabihin say no to drugs. Pero pag lumalapit na siya at nagkataong ikay lugmok, yun yung bagay na kailangan mong paglabanan at sabihin mong say no. No, hindi yan ang solusyon sa aking problema. So, ito po yung ating latest na sinasabi ko kanina. Regional finalist po for 2021 Gawad si Club School Implementer of BKD. Ang ating pinagmulan as alma mater ko po nung ako ay high school. Ang ating proud Imusenyo, Imus National High School under Sir Arturo Rosoroso, ang ating magaling na principal, ang presidente ng ICAPSA. So, Republic of the Philippines Dangerous Drug Board, Board Regulation number 5 series of 2007. Ito po yung institutionalizing of barkada kontra droga. So, ayan po. Search for outstanding barkada kontra droga chapters in school. So, ito po yung naging objectives nila, kaya po napasama rin ang ating eskwela na si Imus National High School. So, to encourage school, academic institution to become a more active involved in promoting people empowerment, in leading a healthy lifestyle that is drug-free and productive. So, the search specifically aims to strengthen NDEP through BKD movement established in the schools, and develop skills and understanding among students, faculty, and administrators in initiating active, responsive for a drug-free school. Then, increase community awareness and participation, hence in maintaining the full drug-free environment in the school, home, workplace, and community. So, hindi lang naman po talaga sa school tayo nagpo-focus. Ganon din po sa home, workplace, and community. Kaya po, meron tayong workplace drug-free na policy. Then, support and sustain the services in the barkada adopted concept among educators, professionals, family, workforce, peers group, and other sectors. Identify best practices of the different BKD chapters, which will serve as a model for other schools and implementers. So, sa atin naman pong PADS or Philippine Anti-Illegal Drug Strategies, ano po ba ang function ng DepEd doon? So, ang function po natin is to participate in drug demand reduction through preventive education by integrating in the curriculum for elementary, secondary, and senior high school, whether public or private instructions on drug abuse prevention and control. As provided in Section 43, gaya nga po na sinabi ko kanina sa RA 9165, to be included ang adverse effect of the abuse and misuse of dangerous drugs on the people, on the person, the family, and the school and the community. So, preventive measure against drug abuse, isa rin po dyan ang ating healthy, socio-cultural, psychological, legal, and economical dimension, implication of the drug problem. Then, steps to make when intervention on behalf of a drug dependent is needed, as well as the services available for the treatment and rehabilitation of drug dependents. And misconception about the use of dangerous drugs such as, but not limited to, the importance and safety of dangerous drug for medical and therapeutic use, as well as the differentiation between medical patient and drug dependence in order to avoid confusion and accidental stigmatization in the consciousness of the student. So letter B, developing, publishing, and distributing information and educational materials on dangerous drug to student, faculty, parents, and community. Yan po yung under section 45 ng RA 165. Then, ensuring the student governments and the student organizations shall include in their activities a program for a prevention and deterrence of the use of dangerous drug and referral for treatment and rehabilitation. So, yan po yung kay section 44 na RA 165. Capacitating school heads, guidance counselors, and teaching and non-teaching personnel on preventing drug education and utilization of instructional, educational information materials on preventing drug education. So, number 2, contribute in drug supply reduction by fulfilling the role of the school heads. Provision of the teachers as a person in authority. So, yan po yung section 44 ng RA 9165. Actively engage in related interagency mechanism and activities on anti-illegal drugs. By year 2022, the Philippines has achieved a 100% drug-free community sustained through the implementation of law, regulations, and policies, and are conductive for peace and order. So, yan po yung target ng ating PADS. So, since tayo po ay nasa new normal, ito po ang mga naging in-depth activities natin. Before po, nung wala pang pandemic, meron tayong mga face-to-face film showing, lesson, quiz bee about drugs, then slogan, poster making contest. But since pandemic came, ito naman po naging activities natin para sa in-depth activities. So, nagkaroon pa rin po tayo ng mga poster, slogan, poetry, even a story using our internet platforms. So, nagkaroon din po tayo ng innovation sa pagkuha ng mga intermediate quiz using Google Forms. So, film showing po. At ayan po kanila mga naging reflections. Drugs are not good. Sabi nga po nung isa na si Yukari Mara Barreto. So, good morning po ulit. Ako po ulit si Nurse Gab para po sa karugtong ng aking unang discussion kanina about sa in-depth overview. Ito naman po ang role of parents on substance abuse, prevention, and intervention. So, ano po ba ito? So, parents, their protective role, get involved, spend time with the children. Gaya po ng sinasabi natin ngayon sa ating mga bata, since may pandemic, madalas po natin silang nakakasama. Pero before po, nung wala pong pandemic, lahat po tayo sobrang busy sa trabaho. Minsan wala na tayong oras sa ating mga anak. Kaya salamat din tayo at may pagkakataon ngayon na lahat po tayo magkakasama-sama at masigit natin nababantayan ang ating mga anak at mga kabataan. Then, create po tayo ng a welcome environment at home. So, hindi naman po dapat na lagi pag nasa bahay, kailangan pag sinabi natin sa mga anak natin na dito ka lang, huwag kang lalabas. Kailangan po welcome environment po siya. Kung gusto po maglaro ng ating mga anak sa bahay o magkaroon ng kausap, pwede naman po yun para hindi po maisipan ng bata na hindi welcome ang environment natin sa bahay. So, eat together as often as you can. So, sabi nga ni Coca-Cola, masarap kumain na kasama ang pamilya. Kasi dito po ay lahat tayo nagkakasama-sama at napagkamustahan. Hindi po kasi gaya ng dati, madalas po talaga kailangan sabay-sabay kumain. Ngayon po kasi may mga nauunang kumain, may mga kumakain sa labas, yung iba nagpapadeliver, hindi na napagkamustahan. Mostly, more on gadgets and social media na lang ginagawa. Ibig kumakain nga po eh. So, ayan po ang dapat natin maibalik sa ating tahanan. Then, get to know about their interests and activities. Yun nga po, sa pagsabay-sabay natin kumain at we're spending time with the children, creating welcome environment, diyan po natin malalaman ngayon kung ano talagang interest ng ating mga kabataan, ng ating mga anak, at anong activities ba ginagawa nila. For example, yung sa aking anak, ang nakikita kong interest niya is more on internets, more on gadgets. Mostly, ang nakikita kong pinapanood niya is yung Jessica. So sabi ko, mahilig pala itong anak ko sa panonood ng mga news, tsaka sa mga trivia. So sabi ko, maganda naman ang kinalalabasan. Pero, syempre, bilang magulang, binibigyan ko rin ng limit ng aking anak sa paggamit ng gadgets. So, yun. Pwede rin naman ang ating mga anak nakakahiligan ng pagtutugtog o pagkanta. Ganun din po sa pagsayaw sa TikTok. Then, when your child gets home after school, try to be there. Mostly, hindi nga dapat be there. So, kung sa akin, sa pananaw ko, dapat nga, kung may pagkakataon tayo sundin ng ating mga anak, sundin po natin kasi iba po yung pakiramdam ng mga kabataan pagka alam nila magulang nila. Ano dyan? Para sa kanila. Yan. Then, learn to communicate. So, good communication is more than just words. So, even sa reading nga po, sa pagkanta with them, listen to the child, giving their full attention. Look at the child when he's talking. Gaya nga po ng being a profession. Dapat po pag nakipag-usap tayo, kailangan may eye contact, in good posture. Ganon din po sa bata. Kasi papakita natin ang sincerity natin sa pakikinig sa mga kwento niya sa pinagdaanan niya sa buong araw na yon. Then, watch out for non-verbal clues. Paano ba yung mga non-verbal clues? Yun yung mga biglang umiirap, hindi nagsasalita. Then, yun yung tipong nanginginig yung kamay. Yun yung mga dapat tinitingnan natin. Baka mamaya may kinakatakutan ba siya? May nangyari na ayaw naman niya sabihin kasi natatakot siya sa pwede maging reaction natin mga magulang. Then, appreciate and encourage. Paano ba gawin ang appreciate and encourage? Positive self-esteem in a valuable gift. Make him feel wanted and valued. Focus on positive behavior. Appreciate efforts not achieving alone. Help the child understand that he has guided also the freedom to make decision. Help the child to set a realistic goal and work towards them. Ito po ang ating mga preventive roles. Encourage healthy pursuits. Be familiar with your child activities. Ano po ba yung mga madalas na ginagawa niya? Ano ba yung hilig niya? Ano ba yung paborito niya? So, yan. Nakikita niyo po yung mga samples. Then, set acceptable roles. Lay down acceptable principle. Paano ba si lay down acceptable principle? So, ito yung make a strong statement about what someone is or is not allowed to do. Paano mo ba yun? Gaya ng halimbawa, lumabas ang ating anak na late siya ng uwi. Bibigyan natin siya ng kasunduan. Gaya ng if she's gone home late again, she would not be able to watch or use her gadget for a month. So, bibigyan po natin sila ng ano yung magiging kondisyon pag ginawa po nila yung ayaw natin nilang gawin. Then, state expectation clearly. Make rules in consultation with the child. Sa paggawa po ng make rules in consultation with the child, dapat po, pag nagbigay tayo ng rules, tatanungin natin siya kung okay ba to o tama ba ito, para hindi rin po labag sa kalooban nila ang parusang ibibigay natin. Kasi pagka, halimbawa, example ko po ulit sa anak ko, sumobra siya sa paggamit ng gadget. Pag sumobra po siya sa paggamit ng gadget, hindi po siya pwedeng gumamit ng gadget for a week. Tatanungin ko sa kanya kung okay ba yon. Sasabihin niya, sige daddy, hindi po ako tatagal ng paggamit ng gadget. Kasi alam ho niya, pag siya ay sumobra sa paggamit ng gadget, kumbaga sa isang kalahating araw, nakagamit lang po siya ng gadget for 2 hours. Pag lumagpas po siya sa 2 hours, sa hapon po wala na siyang gadget. Then the whole week, grounded po siya doon. Sa ganong usapan po ay nag-agree naman po kaming dalawang anak ko. Kaya naman po nasusunod niya yung usapan namin yon. Then, enforce the rule set. So, yun nga po. Gaya ng kinukwento ko kanina tungkol sa anak ko, pag sumobra siya sa 2 hours ng gamit sa loob ng kalahating araw, talaga kong kinukuha ko ang cellphone at hindi po niya nagagamit yun. Unless na nga lang po, syempre may mga grandparents po tayo na syempre maaawa at makikiusap na paggamitin kahit saglit lang. Pero kailangan po maging strict po tayo sa pag-i-enforce ng rules natin para po hindi nila masasabi na andyan naman si Lola, andyan naman si Mamita, tutulungan ako niyan. So dapat po strict pa rin po tayo. So yan. Role of parents on drug substance abuse prevention. So number 1, parents are children first role model. So dapat po kasi ang parents po talaga maging role model, lalong-lalo na sa pag-iwas ng substance. Not even the drugs po, even yung paninigarilyo, pag-inom mo ng alak, hanggat maaari kung hindi ho nakikita ng bata na ginagawa po natin yun, iwasan po talaga natin. Kasi pag nakita po nilang, halimbawa, nakita po ng anak nyo o ng anak ko na naninigarilyo ako, anytime na gustuin ko, ang iisipin niya, ay okay lang pala yung manigarilyo ako pag lumaki ako. Ay okay lang pala ako mag-inom, maglasing kasi nakikita ko daddy ko nalalasing. Tapos nagwawala. So yun po yung dapat isaalang-alang natin na parents are children's first role model na unang nakita ko niya at maaring gayahin niya pagdating ng araw. So, examine your own behavior. Emulate the values you want to your child. Follow. Building resilience. So, sa building resilience, we can help our child manage stress and feelings on anxiety and uncertainty. So, sa building resilience po, meron tayong 10 tips. Ano po ba yung mga 10 tips na yon? So, make connection. So, make connection po tayo dapat hindi lang po laging sa friends lang sila nakapagkwento. Dapat unang-unang nagkukwento sila sa ating mga magulang. Gaya po nung halimbawa, napaaway siya, hindi po siya magkukwento kasi natatakot siya na baka mapagalitan pa siya. Pero sa ganung paraan ho, dapat mas lalo nating inaalam kung kamusta ba siya at ano nangyari sa araw niya. So, making connection is the number 1 tips para po sa building resilience. Then for number 2 po, help our child by having them help others. So, yun nga po, being a parent as a first role model, kailangan din po natin silang tulungan na makatulong din sa iba. Kasi wala rin naman po silang sapat na kakayahan tumulong sa iba kung hindi po sila hihingi ng tulong o hindi ho natin sila tutulungan. Then number 3, maintain a daily routine. So sa daily routine po, dapat andun yung pamangangamusta natin sa kanila, kung ano ba nangyari sa kanila, kamusta ang naging araw nila. Halimbawa na lang ho yung sa pag-aaral, since marami po tayong mode of learning ngayon, gawin ng online, modular. So, kailangan po kamustahin natin ang kanilang daily routine. Kung okay ba sila, kaya pa ba nila. Then, number 4, take a break. By taking a break naman po, dyan naman po pumapasok yung pagkain natin sa labas, pamamasyal paminsan-minsan, para naman po na maintain natin yung pagiging less anxiety nila sa nangyayari sa kanila sa araw-araw, lalo na po ngayong pandemic. Kasi kung hindi po nila malilas yung anxiety na yun, baka maisipan nilang mas makakakuha sila ng more comfort sa labas na pwedeng iba pa ang mangyari. Then, number 5, teach our children self-care. So, yun nga po, teaching them by self-care, gaya na lang po yung sa pagkain nga, halimbawa na rin sa pagkain po, tsaka sa more drinking ng mga beverages like milk tea, yung mga frappe, syempre, lalo na po ngayon, kung less po tayo sa exercise, andyan po yung pwedeng maging effect ng diabetes, obesity, and sedentary lifestyle. Kaya kailangan po, tinuturuan din po natin sila na mag-self-care sa sarili nila. At ganun din naman po sa atin mga parents. Then number 6, move toward your goal. Then number 7, nurture positive self-view. Number 8, keep things in perspective and maintain a hopeful outlook. Number 9, look for opportunities for self-discovery. Paano naman po ba yung self-discovery? Siyempre, hindi naman po dapat tayo ang nagde-decide kung ano ba yung dapat nilang gawin. Dapat sila rin po ang nakaka-discover kung ano pa po ba yung mga other talents and skills nila. Kaya, pwede naman po natin silang hayaan o pahintulutan kung ano pa yung mga pwede nilang gawin sa buhay nila or sa pang-araw-araw nila. Then, number 10 po. Number 10. Sa number 10 po, accept changes. Not everything ay often be scary for children and teens. Kailangan po natin silang tulungan na makita ang changes in part of their life and their new goals and replacement goals. Kung di po to attainable. Pwede po natin dito gawing example yung kanilang school points out of the student can be changed by others. Move up in grade levels and discuss how that change had been impact to the students. So, wala naman po masama kung magkakaroon ng changes. Then next po. Creating balance through making choices. Have children pay attention to how they feel about their choices. Then exploring options and outcomes. Have a support system that extends beyond immediate to family and to other trustworthy adults who will help them, particularly in crisis or emergency. Then, encourage our children's self-worth and self-identity by loving and praising them as just they are. So, marami naman po sa atin ngayon, may mga bata na na mas gusto nila kung ano yung ginagawa nila. Gaya na lang po yung mga K-pop fanatic. Minsan ginagaya nila yung looks, yung outfit. Ganun din po yung sa kanilang mga behavior. Know your children's friend and their friend's parent. Be willing to talk to other parents about concerns. So, knowing your child's friend, kasi nga sabi nga ho ng mga matatanda dati, tell me who your friends are and I tell who you are. Pero sa ngayon naman po, medyo hindi naman na ganun ano yun, ka-realidad. Kasi kung gaya ko po, hindi ko naman po ako sinabing isang mabuting tao nung ako estudyante. Hindi ko naman din po masabing ako yung masama. Pero may mga kaibigan din naman po akong loko-loko nun. May mga kaibigan naman din po akong mababait. Kumbaga, it's depend paano siya i-adapt ng yung anak. Pero mas maganda nga ho, kinikilala natin kung sino yung mga nagiging kasama at kaibigan, lalong-lalo na yung parents na mga yon. Para po sa ganun, magagabayan po natin sila at hindi naman po natin sila pagbabawalan, pero gagabayan po natin sila sa bawat kilos nila kasama kaibigan na yon. Then, have a family connected to someone for the higher power. So, yung higher power po, syempre, yung more on religious po yan. Hindi naman po sinabing authority. Then, have a family awareness session and talk on issues that affect family balance and harmony. So, kailangan po na pag-uusapan din po yan, not only in the elders, kailangan naman din po maging involved ang mga anak natin, lalo na yung mga kabataan. Kung ano po nangyayari sa ating pamilya, ano yung mga issues na nakaka-apekto nga po sa balance and harmony. So, kung hindi naman ganun kabigat at wala naman other issues gaya ng money or ano bang tawag doon, kundi po money or pag-aari, pwede naman po mai-involve ang ating mga anak, lalong-lalo na kung halimbawa ang kailangan naman ay pag-organize ng family gatherings or reunion, pwede naman po silang isama doon. Yan, animation. Parents must be willing to admit that they don't know all the answers and work with children to find solution. So, pwede naman po, yun nga, sa pag-organize ng reunion, hindi naman po lahat ng patok na event ngayon ay alam ng mga elders or ng mga parents. Mostly, ang mga kabataan o ating mga anak ay mas in sa mga ganyang bagay. Not all naman po, gaya na sa problem, ay iasa rin natin yung solution para sa bata. Pero maganda nga na i-involve ang mga kabataan natin sa bawat usapin sa pamamahay at lalo sa pamilya. So, parental intervention. 3 reasons why parents fail to notice drug use and get help for their children. Una-una si denial. So, bakit pa sinabing denial? Halimbawa, may nagkwento po na, ay, nakita ko ang anak mo umiinom sa labas. Naninigarilyo, nahuli ko. Ay, hindi magagawa ng anak ko yan. Yun nga po yung denial. Hindi magagawa ng anak kong uminom o manigarilyo. Mali ka. Nagsisinungaling ka. So, dyan po ang nagiging dapat po, pag may nakita pong balitang ganun, try nyo na pong kausapin yung anak nyo, not confronting them in the presence of others. Pwede nyo naman po silang tanungin sa isang pribadong lugar na kayo lang po ang mag-uusap. So, no sa denial. And number 2 is busy. Hindi ho na asikaso si kabataan o ating anak. Dapat po binibigyan natin ng oras at panahon ng ating mga anak para alamin ang mga bagay na ginagawa nila sa araw-araw at sa kanilang buhay. Then, shame and blame. Diyan naman po pumapasok yung pagsisisihan. Ikaw kasi, pinapayagan mo lumabas, ganito, ganyan. Tapos, yung shame na nakakahiya ka. Itinatakwil na kita. So, wag po nating gagawin yung ganun. Dapat to, pinag-uusapan ng pamilya. Paano ba natin may aalis o may babago ang naging nangyari sa anak natin. Halimbawa, nakita nga ako nag-inom, naninigarilyo. Pag-usapan ho ng parents kung paano ba nila maaalis sa ganong klaseng barkada o gawain yung kanilang anak. At wag kong sisisihin o ikakahiya na gano'n ang ginagawa ng anak. Kasi gaya nga po ng sinasabi na lahat po ng bagay ngayon ay napag-eksperimentuhan, pero dapat po yun ay naiiwasan through the guidance of the parents. So, 5 steps to help a using child. Parents need to get support from themselves. Number 2, talk to a using child or confronting them about use. Stay calm and don't argue. Number 3, if very difficult children, an intervention facilitated by professional may need to take place. So, yan na po pumapasok ang ating mga sinasabing behavior therapies. Hindi po natin sinasabi na ito ay psychologist or psychiatrist. So, behavior therapies po yan or si guidance nga po. Pwede rin po si priest or the principal or the teachers na pwede rin makatulong po. Meron naman po tayong mga train na guidance counselor or guidance teacher, even po ating mga school heads. Then, get assessment and follow through with the referral recommendation for the children and the family. So, yun nga po, kailangan po natin ng tulong. Dapat po, pag binigyan naman tayo ng tulong at binigyan tayo ng option or solution, gawin din po natin siya. So, hindi po pwedeng more on assessment lang. Dapat follow din po yung mga referral recommendation. Then, keep in mind that getting help for the children is expressing love and taking care of the child well-being. So, wag po natin masamain. At wag po tayo mahiya na humingi ng tulong dahil wala naman pong nakakahiya sa paghingi ng tulong. Gaya nga po yung pagdadasal Hindi naman po lahat ng bagay ay kaya natin. Kaya po tayo nagdadasal sa Panginoon upang gabayan tayo, tulungan tayo sa pagresolba ng mga problema natin sa buhay. So, ganun din po yun sa pag-seek ng help para po matulungan natin ang ating mga anak maiwasan sa drug abuse or sa substance abuse. Kasi ang NDEP naman po or National Drug Education Program is not focusing in drugs. Kasi even po ang mga substance like alcohol, cigarettes, and other vices ay nagiging addiction naman din po. So, as a parents, we have to multiply role to perform, but being a parent is the greatest and for a lifetime. So, once na tayo po ay naging magulang, sila po ay ating gagabayan simula sa pagkabata hanggang sa sila po ay tumanda at magkaroon po tayo na po sa kanila. So, hindi po natatapos ang pagiging magulang natin kung sila po ay nakapag-asawa na o nakapagtapos na. Kumaga hanggang sa pinakahuling hininga, tayo po ay tatayong magulang pa rin at tutulong sa kanila at gagabayan sila. So, sa ganito na po tayo matatapos at maraming salamat po. At sana po nakatulong po at nakadagdag po ang ating diniscuss sa pagiging magulang as a role of parent sa drug and substance abuse. Maraming salamat po ulit. Ito po si Nurse Gab, ang inyong lingkod. At happy sa DepEd celebration po.
Maraming salamat po sa ating unang tagapagsalita, Nurse Gab. Salamat po sa pagbabahagi ng kaalaman tungkol sa National Drug Education Program.
Dumako naman po tayo sa pangalawang yugto ng ating programa sa araw na ito. Narito po ang ating tagapagsalita upang talakayin ang WASH, Sanitation and Hygiene in School,
o Wash in School Program, Dr. Marife R. Grossman
at Nurse Jacqueline R. Marara.
Good morning everyone! A pleasant day po sa ating lahat. Ngayon po ay ang second day ng ating division okay sa DepEd One Health Week celebration. I am about to share with you po ang isa sa pinaka-importanteng programa ng Department of Education, lalo na ngayon sa panahon ng pandemya ng COVID-19. Ang Wash in School Program or ang tinatawag natin na WINS. So today, our topic is SDO for the WINS, Developing Opportunities for the WINS. So what is the DepEd Washing School program? So this program promotes correct hygiene and sanitation practices. So paano po natin ito na-promote? So of course, through hygiene and sanitation education by integrating sa lessons po ng ating mga bata para mas maintindihan nila kung ano ang kahalagahan nito. Another one is the provision of standards for safe water supply. So dito naman po papasok yung the drinking water in school provided for free at available ba at all times. Another is yung water quality, is it being tested to make it safer for drinking. Next is the provision of appropriate sanitation facilities. So ito na po yung hand washing facilities, toilet facilities na nakikita natin sa mga schools. So, syempre, isasama na rin po natin yung deworming at saka yung health education. These are important things na nakapaloob sa ating WINS program that will help to enable our learners to reach their full potential by ensuring healthy and enabling learning environments. So, we have two parts of the program for today. Part 1 is the lectures on Introduction to WINS program, a more comprehensive lecture about the 5 elements of WINS program. This will be shared by Dr. Maria Gemma Ledesma, OIC Regional Director of Region 6. So, another one po is the roles of WINS program in the time of COVID-19 pandemic by Mr. John Michael Villasenor, the UNICEF WASH Officer. Okay, the second part po ng ating program is about sa discussion ng updates sa implementation ng WINS program sa ating division. This will be discussed by Nurse Jackie. So later po ay makikita natin yung mga results, mga star rating ng ating bawat schools. And then, now, to start our first part, let us watch Dr. Gemma Ledesma, Regional Director of Region 6, for the Introduction to WINS program.
The school heads have to take charge of so many things in school, and they have to take charge of creating an environment that is conducive to learning. In providing for the basic needs of the children through WASH in schools or WINS is a way to achieve the improvement in the academic achievement of the children. If the basic needs are addressed, you are on your way to achieving the other priorities of the school head. By providing for the basic needs like water and sanitation facilities, the health of the children will be improved. The children stay in the school for more than 8 hours. From 7 o'clock, and usually they go home between 4 to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So while they're in school, they have to be provided with safe water, They have to use sanitation facilities that are well equipped. Well, their other needs should also be provided. In keeping with providing for a healthy and conducive learning environment, the Department of Education has issued DepEd Order Number 10, Series of 2016, that describes the elements of WASH in schools. If we talk of WINS, it has 5 elements: water, sanitation, hygiene, deworming, and health education. When we talk about water, it looks into the availability of potable water for drinking and water for cleaning, washing, and other purposes. In sanitation, it is achieved through the availability of toilets, the practice of proper waste management, and food safety. Hygiene includes activities like hand washing and toothbrushing, menstrual hygiene management, and facilities and supplies necessary for these activities to continue. Deworming is about encouraging the students to participate in the deworming activity in school. Health education is about strategies to take in order to increase awareness of the students and the stakeholders about the elements of WINS. Through these 5 elements, all stakeholders can work together to ensure that each learner wins.
A very inspiring way po to introduce the WINS program. So nakita natin si Dr. Ledesma of Region 6 on how they give importance in promoting the WINS program, where later on it will help the learners to improve the academic achievements just by providing the basic needs. So she mentioned po ang ating 5 elements ng WINS, which are the hand washing, water, sanitation, deworming, at ang health education. So these elements are important in achieving the star rating of WINS program. And for now, our second lecture in this time of COVID-19 pandemic, what are the roles of WINS program? So let us learn more about it as we watch Mr. John Michael Villasenor, the UNICEF WASH officer, as he discusses more about the topic.
This afternoon, I will be talking to you again about the 3-star approach to WASH in schools. But in particular, I will be talking about it in terms of delivering water, sanitation, and hygiene education in schools amidst the COVID pandemic. These are pictures that I got pre-pandemic, and what this shows is that there are still critical gaps in the implementation of WASH in schools that need to be addressed. And in order to help us understand how we need to address this, let me talk about what we're seeing as challenges to implementation. First and foremost, we have seen that there's still this mindset that hygiene knowledge alone would translate to practice. We know that hygiene knowledge alone does not translate to practice. And so therefore, we have to be able to not just provide the lessons, but at the same time, provide the opportunity for pupils to be able to practice proper hygiene. We have also seen that often WASH in schools is equated with facilities alone, that building them, constructing them, or repairing them. But under the 3-star approach, WASH in schools is, yes, facilities, but more importantly, the practices that are done around those facilities. We have also seen that there is still focus on construction, but no focus or prioritization for maintenance. Then we have also seen that there's been poor utilization of WINS data in planning and prioritization. And in the processes for improving washing schools, we still see that there's still lack of participation of schools and local actors. For instance, in washing schools infrastructure projects, that when a donor comes in, the tendency is still for the donors to exclusively do the planning and the implementation, with the schools just receiving and signing off on the clearance of these facilities. Of course, we also see that there are schools that are really in underserved and resource-scarce areas, that simple saying that they need to mobilize resources is not enough, because there's just really little resource to go around to be in these particular areas. We may call this as the last mile schools, and they need particular attention and additional support. Now, in order for us to, again, understand how the Washington Schools 3-star approach aims to address these challenges, we look at the shift in programming approaches to Washington schools. That we look at the traditional approach that has been commonly taken and the new approach that the Washington Schools 3-star approach allows us to do. And one of the key differences is that in addressing the Washington Schools challenges, we now need to focus on behavior and participation, not on construction, not on donation, but particularly on changing behavior and being able to mobilize participation of different actors. So previously, in the traditional approach, the hygiene education is through a knowledge-based approach, trying to increase awareness through lessons. But as we know, that is not enough. And thus, the new approach requires us to have a skills-based daily activities in order to be able to enable pupils the opportunity to be able to practice and imbibe the hygiene behaviors. There was also focus on supply and infrastructure before. But what we need to be able to focus now is on changing behavior first and focusing on operation and maintenance. That if we have to build, for instance, hand washing facilities, there is no need to build nice tiled concrete hand washing facilities without first changing behavior, without first pupils imbibing the practice of daily hand washing. So there can be a start with improvised facilities which can be operated and maintained easily, while all pupils learning the routines and being able to practice hygiene on a daily basis. Previously, there was also dependence on big public or private sector subsidy, as I said, donations from external sources. But with the new approach, under the 3-star approach, we're looking more at schools and community mobilizing themselves in order to be able to address the basic needs that they have through the means that they have. And because in the traditional approach, there is dependence on big public-private sector subsidy, wash in schools has often been seen as high investment, because often donations would come in and they'd build nice, beautiful toilets, nice, beautiful hand washing facilities. But what we are emphasizing in the 3-star approach is that schools can begin low cost for what they can afford. And from there, generate the routines and imbibe the behavior. And only once behavior has been established and practice has been enabled in the school, that they go on to improve and upgrade their facilities. The traditional approach is also project-driven and thus is piecemeal. So it's only whenever somebody comes in to bring a project that washing schools is addressed, actions for washing schools are taken. And often, because these projects are the only ones that are being done, particularly without the participation of the school, these projects end up, after a while, for instance, the toilets end up after a few months being padlocked and never used properly. And so they go back to 0 toilets. But under the new approach, as enabled by the 3-star system, we look at incremental milestones that we go from 0 to 1 star to 2 star and to 3 star. And thus, we understand that the 3-star approach is about behavior change that allows schools to incrementally progress from 1 star, 2 star, and 3 star. It begins with establishing daily routines to promote healthy habits, and then they go to 2 star, wherein they put in incremental improvements until they reach stars when they reach the national standards. Now, the 3-star approach particularly is an approach that enables WASH in schools to be practiced through school-based management. It has a phased approach. It provides milestones that schools can achieve by stages. So schools are not pressured to reach the national standards, but they can work from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3 stars. And it begins and progresses with what the school can afford and mobilize. And thus, it allows for incremental achievement. It lends to progressive rating. There are levels of recognition, and each level of achievement has incentives. And thus, it operationalizes school-based management in a way that schools are able to assess and determine their needs and determine the solutions that they can afford in order to address these needs. Now, in relation to the COVID situation, we have to look at WASH in schools as it contributes to learning continuity, whether this be at home through distance learning, and in the context of when children begin to return to school. And in both cases, there is a rationale for WASH in schools to be part of learning continuity. Under the current situation where learning delivery is done through distance learning modalities, we have to be able to get the child ready to learn. And in order for that to happen, the child has to be able to practice and have the opportunity to practice proper hygiene at home. Homes have to have also that learning environment that allows pupils to be able to learn and study. And that means having proper water, sanitation, and hygiene facilities. And so we need to be able to bring these messages through our learning delivery modes to the parents, particularly, because we have to be able to enable parents to support and be models of hygiene practice. We can do this through integrating WASH in schools messages in our distance learning modules in the appropriate subjects, come up with the appropriate activities that pupils can do in order to be reminded and to be able to establish hygiene routines in their homes, and be able to as well mobilize their parents to be able to support them in establishing this hygiene practice. And of course, we look at WASH in schools as providing safety to our teachers who are in the schools working as well, and as they move around to distribute the modules or to gather them and to engage parents in the school. The schools have to have the proper WASH in schools facilities in order to ensure everyone's safety. And in relation to return to school, WASH in schools is critical in creating a safe and clean environment and ensure that prevention of infection and measures are in place. And through this, we are able to reduce vulnerabilities of children, increase the resilience through adequate facilities and proper practice. Now, in terms of reaching children at home, I'd like to provide you with a situation that requires some urgent attention. This is the case of menstrual hygiene management of adolescents, which need priority in learning delivery. Why? Because one is that periods do not stop for pandemics. Because there is a pandemic and people stay at home, etc., young girls, adolescent girls, will continue on to experience their menarche, their start of menstruation, and they will continue on to menstruate. There may be those that are not menstruating as regularly or may not menstruate at all, but this puberty continues for them, and it does not stop for pandemics. And it is this stage of puberty that is time sensitive, that we need to be able to ensure that adolescent boys and girls are able to learn about their bodies and have the empowerment to be able to have control over their bodies and be able to protect themselves. And we have to view this as well with the challenges that the pandemic puts pressure and challenges on menstrual hygiene management. That as families earn less, there's pressure and strain on resources, and there are needs that are set aside or deprioritized. And as we observe that in such crises, it's the reproductive needs of girls and women that are often set aside. With the school closure, we see a lost opportunity to reach and empower girls and boys about their bodies. With the contracted implementation of the curriculum, it is very easy for lessons on menstrual hygiene management and sexuality education to be lost in the implementation. But the homeschooling also provides us with a great opportunity to engage parents and adults in menstrual hygiene management and comprehensive sexuality education. That in doing so, we might be able to avert learning loss on MHM. That in averting MHM learning loss, we be able to equip our young people, especially the adolescents, to become responsible adults, especially in relation to their sexuality and their bodies, and so to avoid this national crisis that we are facing, which is teenage pregnancy. The true MHM, more girls and boys will still enjoy optimal life chances without being derailed by early pregnancy. Now, in relation to school reopening, we have to be able to reach for the stars, for the schools, that the stars should guide us in being able to ready our schools to accept children and provide them a safe and conducive learning environment. One way is that in assessing the suitability of target schools for school reopening, particularly in the piloting that is being planned, that this be based on star level. That meaning we use the 3-star approach to determine whether schools are ready or not. We use this data in order for us to be able to plan and budget for school readiness, for the things that need to be done and provided in order for schools to be able to get back into shape in terms of cleanliness, in terms of sanitation, in terms of water, and in terms of hygiene facilities. The Wash in Schools 3-star approach to the OMS should also provide us with the data that would enable all our community stakeholders to understand the situation in the schools and thus generate a shared reality and thus be able to act together in order to address the gaps in the schools. The Wash in Schools online monitoring system and the data therein based on the 3-star approach allows us also to intensively update and monitor the situation in the schools, because the system is very much adaptable, and that because it is school-led, the assessment is school-led, and therefore the updating and monitoring is very much within the means of the school and its stakeholders. Now, let me remind you about DepEd Order number 14, Series of 2020, which are the required health standards for COVID mitigation. That this policy enable us the guidance to be able to prepare our schools and our offices in order to mitigate the impacts of COVID through increasing physical and mental resilience, reducing transmission, reducing contact, and reducing duration of infection. That Wash in Schools should provide us with the specific measures or interventions for schools and offices in order to increase physical and mental resilience and reduce transmission in particular. And just to go through what are in the policy, This includes respiratory etiquette and other protective measures, physical arrangement of offices and classrooms that allow for proper ventilation, including barriers, and certain classroom layout that allows for physical distancing. Also includes ensuring availability of face masks, tissue, trash bins, water, and soap and hand sanitizers. There's also the provision to establish and maintain proper sanitation hygiene facilities, to put up cleaning, disinfection, and proper waste disposal systems, and certainly dissemination or education on hygiene, health, and prevention. Now, if we will look at now, then therefore, infection prevention control in schools against COVID involves implementing the DepEd Wash in Schools program, particularly hand hygiene, and adding to this certain general infection prevention control measures such as social distancing, respiratory hygiene, and cleaning and disinfection. Now, we've been asked before, if pupils need to physically distance, then do we still need to do group hygiene activities? Yes, certainly, but in a physically distanced way, and in particular, doing this in strategic location in school classroom entrances and walkways. Because all the more now that we need actually our skills-based approach in order to provide opportunity for everyone, for pupils, teachers, at the same time their caregivers and the parents who come to school to be able to practice hand washing at the right time. We still need to do social norm setting through peer expectation that is generated by the group activities in order for everyone to be able to encourage each other to wash their hands at the proper time. And also because we need to be able to implement hand washing in an orderly manner, the group approach provides us the efficiency to be able to do this. The group approach through supervised hand washing activities provides an organized and time economical system for everyone to be able to wash their hands. So teachers don't need to hurry students while they are washing their hands, and therefore uphold the importance of washing schools, and that how easily doable it is in terms of doing this at certain times of the day. And it allows us to optimally use the supplies and facilities that we have put up. The pictures you see on the side, these are very recent ones that I have seen, a picture in the field in Zamboanga del Norte, where they have put up physically distanced hand washing facilities in preparation for school reopening. Now, aside from the group approach to hand washing, we need to be able to promote as well independent hand washing. And this is particular during critical times. What are these? This includes hand washing after using the toilet, before eating, before food preparation, when entering and leaving the schools, and as often as at regular intervals. So we need to be able to provide hand washing facilities and soap at toilets, in dining and eating areas, and as earlier mentioned, entrances and exits, in dormitories where these are applicable, in each classroom if possible, and in food preparation area if possible. Now, it's not just enough to be able to provide the messaging or the lessons on hygiene, because we know for a fact that most students know when and how to wash their hands. But we also know that this knowledge does not translate into actual practice. What is needed are behavioral triggers for hand washing practice. That aside from knowledge, we be able to motivate them through, for instance, messaging that involves the emotion. What can this be? This can be messaging on fear of COVID, yung hala, or disgust, kadiri, disgust for unwashed hands. These do not pertain to knowledge, rather they pertain to the emotion, fear and disgust. Another way that we've seen is effective for prompting or pushing students to wash their hands at the time that's needed is through visual cues that we call nudges. These can be footprints that lead from, for instance, the toilet to the hand washing stations, or footprints that come from the gate to the hand washing stations, arrows that point to hand washing stations, and making the hand washing station colorful and attractive to the pupils. But note that these triggers or motivation require that hand washing supplies and facilities are available where they are needed. They are accessible at the time that they are needed, meaning that even if it rains, pupils would be able to conveniently wash their hands because the hand washing facilities have roofs, or that they have pathways in order for them pupils not have to walk through mud and water, and that these are functional and that these are child friendly. That if these are intended for kinder pupils, then they should have the proper height and the proper distances of the faucet from the hand washing troughs. Now, here are some design considerations for the COVID context when constructing hand washing facilities. As I mentioned already, these need to be in strategic locations, particularly entrances of schools and classrooms, eating areas, in or near toilets, play areas, and waiting areas. These need to be physically distanced with faucets at least 1 meter apart, and there's the need to avoid the face-to-face design. If this cannot be avoided due to space limitations, for instance, then partitions need to be put in place. The tap needs to be turned off and best with arm or the foot. There should be disability accessible hand hygiene options so that even those that have physical mobility limitations can wash their hands. If it's not connected to a pipe water system, the size and quantity should be appropriate to number of users. We can estimate that water quantity should be at least allocation of half a liter to 2 liters per person per day for hand washing alone. It is important that gray water or wastewater should be captured and safely disposed, and that these hand washing facilities are easy to repair with parts that can be sourced locally, and that water does not need to be drinking water quality. So we can be using rainwater catchments, water from wells, or from pumps. What is needed is that there is enough water for hand washing and other hygiene practices, including cleaning. Now, let me talk to you about school-based management for washing schools and infection prevention control, COVID. You are mostly probably familiar with this conceptual framework of leadership and governance, curriculum and instruction, management of resources, accountability, and continuous improvement. And this presentation is particularly inspired by our experience in Region 6, and this particular presentation comes from them actually, and in behalf of them, I'd like to be able to share this with you. That in terms of leadership and governance, washing schools and infection prevention or COVID need to be attended to through leadership and governance, through localization of COVID-related policies in the schools or for the whole division. There is a need to mobilize washing schools COVID infection prevention control TWG committee. The schools need to be able to participate in DepEd and LGU coordinating systems, particularly the barangay level. There can be integration of WINS COVID IPC plans to the Regional Education Development Plan or the DEDP or the SIP, and also the LGU response plan. There can be capacity building on washing schools COVID IP infection prevention control to implementers and action teams. In relation to curriculum and instruction, as I've been describing earlier, there is a need to integrate wash in schools and COVID-related competencies in the implementation of the MELCs. We need to develop daily lesson plans or tools for learning delivery on WINS COVID under the blended approach. We need to be able to develop approaches and tools to support parents in homeschooling, especially in supporting their children in hygiene and sanitation practice. And we need to be able to include hand washing and other applicable infection prevention control activities in the daily class program. In relation to accountability and continuous improvement, there has to be clear identification of roles and responsibilities for WASH and COVID infection prevention control. Schools can make use of checklists for quality implementation in schools and offices. There's a need to mobilize monitoring teams at school, division, regional levels. There's a need, of course, to assess learning outcomes related to WASH in schools and the broader health education, and also establish WASH in schools infection prevention control related indicators in performance accountability systems. In terms of managing resources, to do assessment of WASH in schools 3-star status and other COVID required supplies and facilities, and be able to use this for mobilized external support in order to augment material resources and personnel, and be able to institutionalize as well budgeting and procurement for WASH in schools COVID needs in the resource management system, particularly in school planning. For instance, in order to be able to come up with the budgets that are required for implementing DepEd Order number 14. Now, let me again cite the example of DepEd Region 6, where they have intensified WASH in schools versus COVID. DepEd Region 6 came up with a policy in order for the WINS program to be tuned into a responsive mechanism for COVID, against COVID. They provided the policy provides for additional infection prevention control measures and a WASH in schools readiness checklist that is adopted from the WINS 3-star indicators. In terms of monitoring and technical assistance, the policy provides for twice a year accomplishment of WINS readiness and checklist, used in school planning and monitoring and TA delivery by division offices. And they need to revisit the SIPs and SIPs for planning and budgeting. They came up with interventions in order to sustain supply. There was school and construction of pedal-operated hand washing facilities and liquid soap making for sustainable supply. There was capacity building through school-led research and development of washing schools facilities, and knowledge sharing to their FB pages. And these are examples of their pedal-operated hands-free individual group hand washing facilities. Now, in terms of, for instance, when schools are approached by external donors for construction of facilities, it is important to be able to apply as well school-based management approach for this construction of facilities. Whereas traditionally, such hand washing facilities have been one-size-fits-all designs. It's often contractor built with schools as mere recipients, which often results in faulty implementation. And because schools do not participate in the building, there's poor ownership, which translates into poor operation and maintenance, that we often see these facilities as being not conducive or responsive to the needs of the learners, of the users, and are also not sustainable. And in order to avoid that, we need to be able to use school-based management for construction of these wash facilities to ensure functionality and sustainability, such as school participation in project planning and decision-making in order to come up with the appropriate design, putting this in the proper location to make sure that they are accessible, and that they be monitored for quality assurance. That schools be able to conduct planning for operation and maintenance, be able to adjust their SIP and AIP and APP to cover attendant costs, and provisions for accessibility and functionality, for instance. There's a need to be able to cultivate hand washing practice so that there's a need for this to be integrated in lessons and daily class program, and to be able to install nudges. These are ways by which they can actually ensure that these facilities are sustainable and properly used by the pupils. I will end my presentation here now, and thank you for sharing in this recorded presentation.
Thank you, Sir John, for enlightening us with the roles of WINS program amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Truly, while the schools are currently closed, we should maximize our time in putting infrastructure and other mitigating measures for a safe school physical reopening and operations. So now, let us have Nurse Jackie to give us the status of SDO Imus City WINS program implementation for school year 2020-2021. Nurse Jackie.
Now, I will present to you the status of SDO Imus City WINS implementation for school year 2020-2021. I am happy to share with you that 100% of public schools participated on WINS monitoring tool uploading for elementary and secondary level for school year 2020-2021. The 3-star approach for WASH in school is designed to improve the effectiveness of hygiene behavior change programs. The 3-star approach helps schools meet the essential criteria for a healthy and protective learning environment for children as part of the broader Child-Friendly Schools Initiative. So dito po ay makikita natin ang star rating ng mga schools sa ating division. 17 elementary and 4 secondary schools got 2-star rating, and 1 secondary school got 1-star rating naman po, while other schools are continuously improving school facilities and system upgrade to meet the national standards. Narito po ang list of schools na nakakuha ng 2-star ratings. Alapan 2 Elementary School, Anabutu Elementary School, Bukandala Elementary School, Buhay na Tubig Elementary School, Cayetano Topacio Elementary School, E. Villanueva Elementary School, Pasong Santol Elementary School, Golden City Annex, Gov. DM Integrated School, Imus Pilot Elementary School, Buhay na Tubig Elementary School, Maharlika Annex, Malagasang 2 Elementary School, Malagasang 3 Elementary School, Palico Elementary School, Pasong Buhaya 1 Elementary School, Pasong Santol Elementary School, Tanzang Luma Elementary School, Tinabunan Elementary School, General Emilio Aguinaldo National High School, General Tomas Mascardo National High School, General Licerio Topacio National High School, and General Flaviano Yenko Senior High School. Congratulations po sa ating lahat. Narito naman ang school na may 1-star rating, Imus National High School. Congratulations po! Ngayon naman ay tunghayan natin ang video presentation ni Dr. Richard T. Saico, Principal 3 ng Bago City Elementary School, Division of Negros Occidental, sa pagbabahagi niya ng naging pagpapatupad ng WINS program sa kanilang paaralan.
Okay, so when I arrived here in Bago City Elementary School, meron talaga mga problema. Isang hand washing facility lang meron kami, tapos with more than 2,000 pupils, so hindi yan kasya. With that, kailangan namin gumawa ng paraan in order to address the problems. We need to do this because we need to provide our pupils conducive place for them to learn, and we need to ensure their health also and safety. After assessing the school, we found out that we have only 1 star. Then, looking at the checklist, it tells us what are we going to do. Of course, inuna namin yung mas madali. So, yung pwede namin magawa, ginawa namin. We tapped the different stakeholders para ma-address yung problema namin. So, we tap our city government, especially for the water system. Kasi dati yung water system namin mayroong problema. And then, yung mga CR naman, humingi ang mga advisors ng tulong sa mga parents at saka sa mga stakeholders. Nagkaroon kami ng fundraising activity during our elementary day. We have generated 1.1 million pesos. Every year, when we are having our Brigada Eskwela, participation of the stakeholder is increasing. In the year 2017, it went up to 85%. Recently, we have more than 110% participation of the volunteers. Nakikita nila sa aming school na talagang maraming structures na na-put up. At nakita at alam nila na they are a part of these projects.
Kung nakikita niyo po yung mga actions ng anak ninyo, you are motivated also na, okay, alam ng anak ko ang ginagawa niya.
Hindi naman lahat ng mga teachers ay mag-a-affirm sa akin. So, I set myself as an example. So, kahit ang iba hindi nagko-cooperate sa akin, pero ginawa pa rin. Okay, gawin natin to.
And at first, there are 80% who have truly embraced the WINS program and 20% sabihin natin na hindi pa masyadong naintindihan ang program. Pero hindi doon nag-stop yung pag-encourage namin sa mga teachers. Until such time, it was 101% na yung support ng teachers ng Bago City Elementary with regards sa SBM WINS program.
So nag-enjoy ka man ng bata, nga limpyo permi sila. So na lot of brushing. Kung may balo na sila kayo may hygiene kit ang kabataan mo. Kada isa sa ila yung may hygiene kit. Kompleto na sila ya. May mga cologne, toothbrush, toothpaste. So doon nag-enjoy ka man, nga coordinator, nga imo, gali nga ginapabalo sa ila. O kung ginapabatid sa ila, ginapahatid, ginapatawag sinigani, mga program, gina-embrace man nila.
Yung time na maraming tao na pumupunta rito, some people are having their benchmark here. Nasiyahan talaga sila pag na-appreciate ko, ang ganda ng school nyo, ang ganda ng mga projects nyo, na-motivate sila. They are being inspired by what other people are saying to them. So, we work hard, we strive hard. This time, we have the 3 stars now. We achieved the 3 stars. Kailangan i-sustain ito. That's why I'm assigning different tasks to other teachers because I believe that when I will be assigned to other schools later, so at least they would know what to do because they are empowered already.
Dapat i-love nila yung WINS program ya, dapat i-inform gid ang kabataan nga bisan wala na ya bisan sino pa na iya principal man kung sino maghambal ya, no, dapat yung WINS ya sige gyapon kay para ina sa aton nga health.
We have established policies and routines. Of course, we included that in the crafting of our SIP and AIP. We have the monthly monitoring and evaluation of the different programs about WINS. Yung pag-tap ng stakeholders, dapat i-continue yun. We should show to the stakeholders that they have the return of investment in our school. Kung meron kang commitment, dedication, I'm sure you will be able to achieve it. Gaano man yung kalaki, pag meron kang paniniwala sa sarili mo, that you can do it, at meron kang paniniwala sa mga kapwa mong guro, sa mga stakeholders, ang gusto mo mangyari, mangyayari yun.
Para ma-access ang WINS online monitoring system, magpunta lamang sa www.deped-wins.systb.site. At para makalagin sa system, ang bawat eskwelahan ay may kanya-kanyang unique username and password. Ang format ng username para sa bawat eskwelahan ay SCH kadugtungan yung mga school ID. At ang password naman ay small letter P. The Excel-based monitoring system will be used to encode data from the monitoring form. The system can be opened using Excel 2007 and above. It was designed to function even without internet connection. It was also designed to provide feedback mechanisms that will help the school diagnose the quality of WINS implementation. Each school shall have one file containing data for one school year.
There are 5 crucial indicators that are prerequisite for a school to move beyond 0-star. The crucial indicators are safe drinking water, gender-segregated toilets, group hand-washing facilities, group hand-washing activities, and access to sanitary pads. If a school scores 0 in any of the 5 crucial indicators, it shall automatically be a 0-star school regardless of its overall rating. Now we are all informed on how to reach for the stars. We hope that this information will help each school of SDO Imus City to achieve the 3-star ratings.
And now, I would like to call Dr. Pearl Olibet S. Intia, Medical Officer 4 of Region 4A Calabarzon, for an inspirational message.
This continuing COVID-19 pandemic has caused serious changes in our plans and our lives. However, in the pursuit of excellence and quality, we in Calabarzon continue to find ways to be able to sustain the 6 flagship programs of Oplat Kalusugan sa DepEd. Based on initial Power BI data, our region of Calabarzon boasts 96.1 participation for the WINS program, with 37 schools having 3-star ratings. The launch of the Seal of Excellence further establishes mechanisms encouraging schools and schools divisions to ingrain the WINS indicators, especially that these practices, such as washing of hands, stops transmissions of SARS-CoV-2. The innovation of practicing WINS at home is well lauded. We at the regional office, with the leadership of our regional director, Francis Cesar B. Bringas, and Assistant Regional Director, Cherilu Repia, salutes the learners, teaching and non-teaching personnel, especially the school health personnel who make this happen. Wash in schools with the other flagship programs, the medical, dental, and nursing services, school-based feeding program, the adolescent reproductive health, school mental health, and the National Drug Education Program all aim to ensure a healthy in body and mind learner who will be well equipped for the future of society. Kaya ako po si Doc Poy, Medical Officer 4 ng DepEd Calabarzon, nag-aanyaya. Tara na, magbayanihan para sa kalusugan, okay sa DepEd, sa paaralan at sa tahanan.
Maraming salamat po sa ating mga tagapagsalita, Dr. Marifeg Grossman
and Nurse Jacqueline.
Salamat po sa mga paalaala, Doc, regarding sa hygiene and sanitation ng ating katawan. O mga listeners and participants, ugaliin po nating maghugas ng kamay araw-araw bago tayo kumain.
Panatilihin din po nating malinis ang ating katawan upang makaiwas sa sakit, lalo na po ngayon na panahon ng pandemya.
Para naman po sa ikatlong yugto ng ating programa, sama-sama po nating tunghayan ang orientation ng school-based feeding program para sa school year 2021-2022.
Muli nating panoorin, Nurse Jacqueline R. Marara.
Magandang buhay! Welcome po sa orientation ng school-based feeding program for school year 2021-2022. Rationale. COVID-19 pandemic hit the world in year 2020 and forced people to adapt to a new normal. Department of Education developed the Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan, or the BELCP, which laid out the department's learning delivery strategy and operational direction that ensures the health, safety, and well-being of the DepEd learners and personnel. The School-Based Feeding Program, or SBFP, was identified by the BELCP as one of DepEd's interventions for increasing the physical resilience of learners. Implementation was modified from hot meals to distribution of nutritious food products and milk. The school-based feeding program shall cover only public schools. The list of schools for the succeeding school year shall be disseminated later. Schools, division offices, and recipient schools shall ensure to maximize utilization of funds and to cover the target beneficiaries to the fullest extent possible. School-based feeding program primary beneficiaries are all incoming kindergarten learners, all grade 1 to grade 5 beneficiaries of school-based feeding program during school year 2020-2021, which were promoted to grade 2 to grade 6 for school year 2021-2022. Grade 1 enrollees for school year 2021 to 2022, which are member of 4Ps and included in listahan by DSWD. Grade 1 severely wasted and wasted learners identified by their parents. Stunted learners, the pupils at risk of dropping out or PARDOs, indigenous people, or IP learners, shall be considered as secondary beneficiaries. Makikita naman po natin sa screen ang number of beneficiaries ng SDO Imus City for school year 2021-2022. Ang kabuoang bilang ng mga beneficiaries ng SDO Imus City ay 9,722 para sa school year 2021-2022. Identification of grade 1 learners as SBFP beneficiaries for school year 2021-2022. Height and weight assessment. Grade 1 advisors are requested to inform the parents or guardian to have their children weighed at their nearest health center observing minimum health protocols. School Form 8 shall only be used for determining the nutritional status of grade 1 enrollees and not mandatory for updating the LIS facility as per DepEd Memo No. 14 Series of 2021 entitled Interim Guidelines on the Preparation, Submission, and Checking of School Forms for the School Year 2020-2021. SBFP shall be implemented ideally for a feeding period of 120 days to achieve a significant impact on the nutritional status of children. However, due to the changes in the school calendar and in consideration of the possible lapse of the funds by year-end, the feeding period for school year 2021-2022 is reduced to 47 days for the regular component and 26 days for the milk component. For the succeeding school years, the feeding period shall be identified later. DepEd Order No. 31, Series of 2021, provides the operational guidelines on the implementation of the school-based feeding program starting school year 2021-2022 and onwards. accommodating changes in the implementation of the program as affected by COVID-19 pandemic, particularly in the target beneficiaries, feeding commodities, mode of delivery, and number of feeding days. Budget allocations for the regular component to be downloaded to the SDOs shall be based on the target number of beneficiaries per the report of the school year 2020-2021 SBFP implementation, computed at 20 pesos per beneficiary per feeding day. The following breakdown: 18 pesos for the food item and 2 pesos for the operational expenses. For the meal component, the budget is computed at 20 pesos per beneficiary per feeding day, with the following breakdown: 19 pesos for the milk and 1 peso for the operational expenses. The breakdown of allocation of the SBFP funds for school year 2021-2022 and the succeeding school year shall be released through the memorandum to the regional directors. Budget allocation and allowable expenses. Operational expenses downloaded to each school allowed under this program include the purchase of basic eating and cooking utensils, trays and crates, packaging materials, communication-related expenses, reasonable transportation expenses from drop-off points to schools to homes of learners, common office supplies needed for the preparation of reports, and payment for the health certificates of food handlers. Makikita sa screen ang SBFP cycle menu for school year 2021-2022. Delivery, inspection, and acceptance. The inspection team shall do a random inspection of NFP every delivery as to its quantity and quality, including the date of manufacturing and expiration. The inspection team shall recommend whether to accept or reject the NFP delivered if not in accordance with the technical specifications provided. Noong nakaraang December 9, 2021, nagsimula ang pagpapatupad ng SBFP for school year 2021-2022 sa Division of Imus City. Narito ang ilan sa mga larawan ng naging parents orientation at pagbabahagi ng NFP sa mga benepisyaryo.
Mahalaga ang wastong nutrisyon sa pag-unlad at kagalingan ng mga bata dahil mas madaling maging biktima ng kakulangan ng wastong nutrisyon ang mga bata. Maaring maapektuhan ng malala ang kakayanan nilang matuto at magpaunlad ng sarili sa kani-kanilang tahanan at paaralan. Noong 2015, pinagtibay ng United Nations at mga miyembro nito ang 17 Sustainable Development Goals na naglalayong makabuo ng mas mahusay at mas sustainableng hinaharap para sa lahat sa taong 2030. Usapin ng gutom at kalusugan ang naging focus ng SDG 2 na naglalayong tapusin ang kagutuman, makamit ang seguridad sa pagkain at mas maayos na nutrisyon at itaguyod ang sustainableng agrikultura, at ng SDG 3 na nais tiyakin ang malusog na pamumuhay at itaguyod ang kagalingan ng lahat anuman ang edad. Ang pagwawakas ng matinding gutom sa mga batang mag-aaral at pagtitiyak na malusog silang namumuhay ay kinakailangan sa pagkamit ng SDG 4 na hangaring tiyakin ang inklusibo at pantay na dekalidad na edukasyon at itaguyod ang panghabang buhay na pagkakataong matuto para sa lahat. Sa Pilipinas, mayroon ng mga nakalatag na programa ang pamahalaan upang makamit ang mga nabanggit na SDG. Noong ika-10 ng Enero 2020, nilagdaan ni Pangulong Duterte ang Executive Order 101 na siyang bumuo ng Interagency Task Force on Zero Hunger para mapag-ugnay, maisakatuwiran, masubaybayan at masuri ang mga programa ng mga nararapat na ahensya ng pamahalaan. at iba pang mga sangay upang matiyak ang whole-of-government approach sa pagsugpo ng kagutuman at pagkamit ng seguridad sa pagkain. Ang nasabing task force ay pinangungunahan ng kalihim ng gabinete, pinagsisilbihan ng mga kalihim ng kagawaran ng agrikultura at kagawaran ng kagalingan at pagpapaunlad panlipunan bilang co-chairs, at binubuo ng 12 pang mga ahensya. Isa sa mga pangunahing programa ng task force ay ang Enhanced Partnership Against Hunger and Poverty na naglalayong wakasan ng gutom, tiyakin ang seguridad sa pagkain at makabuo ng sustainableng agrikultura sa taong 2030. Sa mga paaralan, nakapagtatag na rin ng iba't ibang mga programa at inisyatiba na sumusuporta sa Interagency Task Force on Zero Hunger at EPAP upang makamit ang mga nabanggit na SDG. Sa paniniwalang mahalaga ang papel ng wastong nutrisyon sa potensyal ng mga mag-aaral, ipinatutupad ng Kagawaran ng Edukasyon sa pangunguna ni Kalihim Leonor Magtolis Briones at sa pamamagitan ng Bureau of Learner Support Services School Health Division ang School-Based Feeding Program. Ang SBFP ay isang mahusay na mekanismo para sa pagpili ng interbensyon ng mga mag-aaral dahil ito ay ang nagbibigay ng pagkakataon hindi lamang para sa pagpapahusay ng nutrisyon kundi pati na rin sa kanilang partisipasyon sa paaralan at sa kanilang edukasyon. Kabilang sa mga benepisyo ng pagpapakain sa mga mag-aaral ang pagtugon sa gutom, pagbabawas ng micronutrient deficiency at anemia, pagpapabuti ng partisipasyon at attendance sa paaralan, at pagtaas ng kognitibo at kagalingang pang-akademiko. Ang programa ay nagbibigay ng hot meals sa tinutukoy ng mga mag-aaral mula sa kindergarten hanggang grade 6 upang matugunan ang 1/3 ng kanilang nutritional requirements para sa 120 feeding days. Ang programa ay lalo pang napalakas sa pagsasabatas ng Republic Act 11037 o ang Masustansyang Pagkain para sa Batang Pilipino Act na naging pangunahing batayan para sa implementasyon ng SBFP at dahil dito ay nagkaroon ng dagdag na pamimigay ng sariwang gatas bukod sa hot meals. Sa kabila ng mga pagbabago sa pamamaraan ng pagtuturo dulot ng COVID-19 pandemic, tinitiyak ng Kagawaran na ang implementasyon ng SBFP ay may kakayahang umangkop. Para sa school years 2020, 2021 at 2021-2022, pangunahing benepisyaryo ng SBFP ang lahat ng mga mag-aaral mula kindergarten at lahat ng mga undernourished na nasa una hanggang ika-6 na baitang ng mga pampublikong paaralan. At dahil dito, ay pansamantalang ibinaba ang feeding days mula sa 120 pababa sa 60 feeding days. Upang matupad ang layunin ng programa sa konteksto ng new normal, ang Kagawaran ay namamahagi ng masusustansyang pagkain tulad ng enriched Nutriban, fortified at enriched bread, root crops, mga prutas at mga gulay, at fortified blended food para isulong ang pag-inom ng gatas at mapabuti palalo ang kalusugan ng mga benepisyaryo. Naging bahagi rin ng programa ang pagbibigay ng sariwa o sterilized na gatas. Naging posible ito dahil sa pakikipag-ugnayan ng Central Office ng Kagawaran ng Edukasyon sa Kagawaran ng Agrikultura National Dairy Authority at Philippine Carabao Center. Sinisiguro rin ng Kagawaran na patuloy itong sumusunod sa itinakdang food safety and health standards sa pamamagitan at pagsasagawa ng mga inspeksyon sa mga pagkain at milk products. Gayun din, tinitiyak ng mga individual na responsable sa implementasyon ng programa, maging ng mga magulang na tumatanggap ng food pack para sa kanilang mga anak na sumusunod sila sa health and safety protocols mula produksyon hanggang sa paghahatid sa destinasyon ng mga produkto, mula paghahanda ng mga food pack hanggang sa pamamahagi ng mga ito. Ang mga paaralan ay bumubuo ng iba't ibang estratehiya sa pamamahagi ng mga food pack sa mga benepisyaryo nito. Sa ibang mga paaralan, tinatanggap ng mga magulang ang food pack kasabay ng self-learning modules sa mga nakatakdang araw. Ang iba naman, mga kawani ng paaralan ang naghahatid sa mga tahanan. Nariyan din ang mga barangay at non-government organizations na tumutulong sa pamamahagi. Kaagapay ng iba pang mga programa ng kagawaran ang SBFP sa pagsusulong ng malusog na pag-uugali sa mga mag-aaral. Ilan sa mga programang ito ang deworming, micronutrient supplementation, gulayan sa paaralan program, integrated school nutrition model, at wash in schools program. Patuloy ring hinihikayat at pinag-iigting ng kagawaran ang pakikipagtulungan ng iba't ibang ahensya ng pamahalaan, development partners, NGOs, local government units, pribadong sektor at iba pang mga stakeholder upang maisakatuparan ang matagumpay na implementasyon ng SBFP at iba pang mga programa. Hinihimok ang patuloy na pagbibigay suporta ng mga magulang sa pamamagitan ng kanilang pagdalo sa nutrition education sessions at pag-alalay sa paghahanda at pamamahagi ng food packs. Gayun din ang partisipasyon ng NGOs, mga pribadong individual at civil society organizations sa pamamagitan at pamamahagi ng in-kind donations tulad ng weighing scales, height scales, microtuwa, refrigerator, packaging materials, gatas, multivitamins, bigas, mga prutas, mga kasangkapan sa pagluluto at pagkain, mga butot pataba, mga kagamitan sa paghahalaman at iba pa ay may mahalagang gampanin sa epektibong pagpapatupad ng SBFP. Isa ring nakikitang posibilidad ang pagpapatayo ng LGU-run central kitchens sa pakikipagtulungan sa iba't ibang LGUs upang mas mapalawak ang implementasyon at maging ang resulta ng programa. Habang hinaharap ang mga hamon sa bagong estilo ng edukasyon at pagtuturo sa new normal, nagpapatuloy ang SBFP sa pagtugon sa problema ng undernutrition sa mga batang mag-aaral. Sa labang ito, naniniwala ang kagawaran na darating ang panahong wala ng batang papasok sa paaralan ng kumakalamang sikmura at ang bawat isa ay matutugunan ng pangangailangang nutrisyonal na siyang makakatulong sa pagtanto ng kanyang buong potensyal.
Maraming salamat po sa ating huling tagapagsalita, Nurse Jackie. Naway naintindihan nating lahat ang kahalagahan ng school-based feeding program.
Napakalaking tulong po nito, lalong-lalo na sa ating mag-aaral na kulang ang nutrisyon sa katawan.
Tunghayan naman natin ang presentation.
Uy partner, school natin yan!
Nakaka-proud ang Governor D.M. Camerino Integrated School School-Based Feeding Program Implementation School Year 2020-2021.
Sa gitna ng nararanasan nating pandemya, bawat kilos ay tila limitado na. Maraming mga bagay ang nawala, nasira, natapos, at nahinto. Mga kumakalam na sikmura, mga nangangailangan ng gamot, at libo-libong pamilya na iniinda ang kawalan ng hanap buhay. Maging ang bawat kabataang Pilipino ay lubharing naapektuhan. Ngunit sa kabila nito, pinili ng paaralan ng Gov.DM Camarines Integrated School na ipagpatuloy at lalong paigtingin ang school-based feeding program para sa bawat batang Camarines. Ang SBFP ay nagmula sa Republic Act 11037 o ang Masustansyang Pagkain para sa Bata Pilipino Act, na layuning bigyang solusyon ang malnutrisyon sa mga mag-aaral mula kinder hanggang elementarya. Ito ay sa paraan ng pamamahagi ng mga nutritious food packs at gatas sa mga kabataang may mabababang timbang na hindi naaayon sa kanilang edad.
Malaki pong pasasalamat
sa programa ng SBFP sa naidulot sa aking anak na si Akisa. Ako po si Beth Sulit na nanay ni Akisa. Siya po ay kasalukuyang grade 3 sa GovDN. Isa rin po siya sa mga recipients ng SBFP.
Paano po napili ang inyong anak na maging bahagi ng SBFP?
Kasi noong 2019 ay kinuhan po ang kanilang height at timbang pero hindi umayon sa kanyang edad. Tuwing pagkagising ng umaga ni Akisa, nahihirapan ako siyang pakainin. Kaya ang paborito niya ng kainin ay itlog sa tinapay. Kaya yun nalaman ko na si Akisa ay kasama sa SBFP. Tuwing Lunes po ay sinasabay ko ang pagkuha ng module at pagbigay ng kanilang mga food packs.
Kamusta po? Nagugustuhan niya po ba yung mga pagkain?
Yun nga po, maliban nga sa pandesal at itlog, at ngayon uminom na rin ng naturang na gatas tuwing umaga.
Paano niyo po natatanggap yung mga food packs ngayon pong lockdown?
Ngayon kasi, mahirap lumabas dahil may pandemya, hinatid na lang po sa amin ng Egypt ang mga model at food packs. Malait pong naitutulong ang SBFP sa aking pamilya.
Sa loob ng 6 araw ay matagumpay na ipinamahagi ang gatas at nutritious food packs sa mga benepisyaryo ng SBFP. Ito ay produkto ng sama-samang pagtutulungan ng mga tagapagtaguyod ng programa ito. Kaisa ang bawat guro, magulang at ang buong komunidad ng Paaralan. Sama-samang pagkilos at pagtutulungan ang maging susi upang maipagpatuloy ng paaralan ang pagtulong sa mga kabataan. Katuwang ang ating pamahalaan at ang kagawaran ng edukasyon sa pagpapatupad nito upang masigurado ang kaligtasan at kalusugan ng bawat mag-aaral. Sa paglipas ng mga taon, napakaraming bata na ang natulungan ng programang ito. Maraming mag-aaral ang muling naibalik sa normal na timbang at nabigyan ng sapat na nutrisyon. Ang paaralan ay kasalukuyang may bilang na 384 na benepisyaryo mula kinder hanggang grade 6. Ang pagkakaroon ng mataas na bahagdan ng mga batang maibabalik sa normal na kalagayan ng kanilang nutrisyon ay mananatiling pangunahing layunin mula noon hanggang ngayon. Innovations. Hindi naging hadlang para sa paaralan ang isang mapanghamong lipunan sa pagkakabuo ng mas produktibong mga programang pangkalusugan. Ito ay ang 9 Innovations. upang paigtingin ang pagpapatupad ng SBFP sa paaralan sa gitna ng pandemya. Ang mga programang ito ay naisagawa ng may tamang pagsunod sa mga health protocols at isinaalang-alang ang kaligtasan ng bawat isa. Halina't alamin ang bawat programang ito. Ang SBFP Big Day Station Festival ay may layunin na maibahagi sa mga magulang ang mga kaalamang pannutrisyon, pagtatanim at iba't iba pang mga lutuin at pagkain na maaari nilang maisagawa at maihanda sa kani-kanilang mga tahanan. Ito ay binubuo ng 7 istasyon. Para sa unang istasyon na pupuntahan ng mga magulang ay ang kaalamang pangnutrisyon. Sa istasyong ito, mabibigyan ng impormasyon ang mga magulang tungkol sa mga nutrisyon na naidudulot ng ipinamamahaging gatas at tinapay. Para sa ikalawang istasyon ay ang aming gulayan. Nananatili sa hangarin na maipamahagi ang mga sariwang gulay na inani mula sa gulayan sa paaralan. Ang pinaka-inaabang istasyon sa lahat ay ang lutuan sa paaralan, kung saan maaaring makatikim ng mga masasarap at masusustansyang pagkain. Nagpakitang gilas rin ng ating mga kaguruan sa kanilang mga inihandang lutuin. Ilan nga sa mga tampok na gulay na pangunahing sangkap sa kanilang mga lutuin ay ang kulitis at ang talinong. Binida naman ng mga kaguruan ang talinong bilang isa sa mga sangkap na maaaring gamitin sa iba't ibang mga lutuin na tiyak namang magugustuhan ng mga bata. Tanggap rin ng mga benepisyaryo ng mga food package mula sa campus pantry at mga school local disinfectants mula sa Project Brigada Disinfectant Against COVID-19 na isa rin sa mga programa ng paaralan. Hindi lamang pamamahagi ng pagkain ang naitulong ng programa sa bawat benepisyaryo. Nabigyan rin sila ng mga halaman at naturuan ng mga paraan sa pagtatanim, katulad na lamang ng hydroponics. Hindi magiging kompleto ang SBFP Festival kung hindi maipamamahagi ang gatas na siya namang lalong ikinatuwa ng mga benepisyaryo. Para sa huling istasyon, nabibigyan ng pagkakataon ng mga magulang na maglahad ng kanilang mga natutuhan tungkol sa kanilang naging karanasan mula sa iba't ibang istasyon ng SBFP Big Day Festival. Wala na rin dapat ipag-alala ang mga magulang na hindi nakakapunta sa paaralan. Dahil sa programa ng Sukod Bahay sa Barangay, All for One and One for All bread and milk distribution ay talaga namang makararating pa rin ng ating mga food packs sa bawat benepisyaryo. Hadlang ang pandemya upang maipagpatuloy ang pagbibigay ng kaalaman sa batang Kamerinyan tungkol sa wastong nutrisyon. Isinama ng mga guro ang pagtatag ng pagkain ng masustansya at pagtaguyod ng malusog na pamumuhay sa kanilang weekly home learning plan. Nang sa gayoy magpatuloy ang advokasya ng kagawaran ng edukasyon tungkol sa wastong nutrisyon sa kabila ng nararanasan nating pandemya. Ito ay nagsabing transportasyon upang maihatid ang mga fresh milk at Nutri-Buns sa mga recipients na hindi makakapunta sa paaralan dulot ng pandemya. Dahil sa pandemya, hindi naging madali ang makuha ang aktwal na sukat at timbang ng mga bata. Kaya naman sa programang Oplan Timbang ay nag-ikot ang mga guro sa iba't ibang barangay upang makalap ang mga datos na kailangan sa BMI ng mga batang Kamirinyan. Siniguro rin na nasusunod ang mga health protocol sa pagsasagawa ng aktibidad na ito. Upang mahikayat ang mga batang Kamirinyan, nagsagawa ang paaralan ng patimpalak sa kung sino ang magiging biggest gainer. Kinikilala rin ng paaralan ng mga natatanging magulang ng mga batang nakapagkamit ng Batang GDM-CIS Award. Sila ay tinaguriang The Best Nanay and The Best Tatay. Ipinagmamalaki ng paaralan ang kanilang paggamit ng QR code para mapadali ang pagkalap ng mga impormasyon ng mga benepisyaryo ng SBFP. Mahalaga ang komunikasyon upang masubaybayan ang mga mag-aaral na bahagi ng SBFP. Mahalaga ito lalo na sa pagkuha ng datos, mga anunsyo at paalala, schedule ng distribution, at higit sa lahat ay ang pagsagot sa mga katanungan patungkol sa programang ito. Sadyang napakaraming naidudulot ng programang ito, hindi lamang sa mga mag-aaral, kundi sa kanilang buong pamilya.
Ano pong naidudulot ng SBFP sa inyo? Yun nga, nandahil po sa SBFP, nadagdagan ang kanyang timba at doon nakakapagsagot na siya ng maayos sa kanyang module at nakakapaglaro na siya at hindi siya masyadong tampal. Ngayon, nagkaroon din kami ng mga talim dito sa bahay, lalo na katulad ng talilom, ampalaya, talong. At nakakapagluto na rin po ako mula sa akin natutunan ng mga recipe mula sa SPFP at ang paborito ni Akisa, burger ng kanilang niluto mula galing sa talilom. Kala ko mga damo lang, yung pala masustansya pala. Malaki pong pasalamat sa programa ng SBFP sa naidulot sa aking anak na si Akisa, naway kahit pandemic ay patuloy pa rin ang kanilang programa dito sa GovDM. Mabuhay!
Iba-iba ang kwentong SBFP ng bawat mag-aaral na bahagi nito. Mula kay Nanay Beth at sa anak niya na si Akiza, at ang iba pang magulang na walang ibang nanaisin kundi ang mabigyan ang kanilang mga anak ng masustansyang pagkain.
Salamat po sa mga pinigin mga bagay. Saka marami kami natutunan.
Salamat po sa gobyerno po kami din. Kasi po nabigyan po ng mga pagkain, masustansyang pagkain po mga estudyante po dito. Muli po maraming salamat po.
po sa SDFP na bibigyan ng tulong para sa aking anak. Sana po mapagbigay ito ng magandang kalusugan sa aking anak. Maraming salamat po.
Yung po sa binigay tulong po sa ating mga anak, dito po sa Godwin kami din lang po.
Salamat sa DepEd naman sa programa ng SDOIC para sa ating. Maraming salamat po sa SDFP feeding program na nakasali dito yung anak ko. Salamat po sa Godwin sa
Ang kalusugan ay kayamanan, kaya marapat lamang na ito'y pagkaingatan. Baunin natin ang mga kwento at karanasang ito upang magpatuloy sa paglilingkod at pagtulong.
Aside from the certificate of recognition, our finalist will also be receiving this plaque of recognition. Please allow me to read its contents. Republic of the Philippines, Department of Education, Region 4A, Calabarzon, Gate 2, Karangalan Village, Cainta, Rizal, presents this Exemplary Support Services Delivered Award to Governor D.M. Camerino Integrated School, Division of Imus City. Finalist, search for the most outstanding implementer of the school-based feeding program for school year 2020-2021. Regional level, given the 6th day of December 2021 during the ESSD awarding ceremony held at Forest Crest Nature Hotel and Resort, Nasugbu, Batangas, signed by the Regional Director, Francis Cesar B. Bringas. We would also like to inform that all school-based feeding program coordinator from the Schools Division of Imus City will also be receiving certificate of recognition. To all of you, once again, congratulations!
Magandang buhay! Ako po si Roger Ian C. Demilio, 30 taong gulang at 8 taon na pong naglilingkod sa kagawaran ng edukasyon. Ito po ang aking ika-4 na taon bilang school-based feeding program coordinator sa Gov. DM Camerino Integrated School. Naramdaman ko po ang lubos ng tiwala ng aking principal at ng mga kaguro noong sinabi sa akin na ako ang magiging SBFP coordinator. Alam ko po na may kaakibat itong malaking responsibilidad. And I take that as an opportunity to reach out at matugunan ang pangangailangan ng aming mag-aaral. Sa GovDM, lalo't higit sa aspekto ng nutrisyon. Di po madali ang tungkulin pero niyakap ko po ito ng bilang guro. Alam ko po ang programang SBFP ay hindi dagdag trabaho bagkus serbisyo na may puso. Dahil sa amin sa Imus, naniniwala kami na hindi obligasyon kundi dedigasyon. Sa unang taon po bilang ako ay SBFP coordinator ng Paaralan nito ay halos mangiyak-ngiyak po ako na maranasan ko ang lahat ng mga bagay na dapat kong kaharapin. Unang-una po dito ay ang paano ko mapapakain ang mga kabataang ito, lalo-lalo na mga kinder hanggang grade 3 na mga bata, na kung paano papakainin ang mga gulay mula sa aming garden. Sapagkat meron pong ginawa ang aming gulayan sa Paaralan na konektado po sa SBFP. Kung alin po yung mga tanim namin sa aming garden, ng mga indigenous plants, ay yun po ihahain namin at iluluto sa aming SBFP po. Gayunpaman, sa tulong din ng aking mga kasamahang coordinator na per grade level, ay paunti-unti naming naipamalas at napakita sa mga kabataan ito kung paano po kainin at tanggapin ang mga gulay na ito. So natutuwa po kami na sa kabila po ng mga hirap na pinagdaanan po namin, na nagiiyakan yung mga bata, ang hirap pakainin, ngunit nabuo po namin ito sa pamamagitan ng may mga integration po na ginawa sa loob ng aming feeding program room. Yun po ay tuwing dumadating po ang mga bata sa loob ng feeding area po namin, ay nagkakaroon po muna kami ng mga storytelling. May mga integrations po na ginawa yung aming mga teachers, na sa pamamagitan may mga games po muna kami ng ginawa. At dahil po dyan, sa araw-araw na pagpasok nila sa feeding room na iyon, ay naging interesado lalo sila sa pagpasok. Dahil hindi lamang sa mga ginagawa nila sa loob ng area na iyon, kundi kung ano ang mga masasarap at masustansyang pagkain na aming inihahain sa kanila. Kahit kung gaano po kahirap, minsan ang magluto, mamalengke, mag-liquidate, lahat po yan ay aming nalampasan at natutunan po namin na mahalin ang ganyang mga gawain. Paano po namin nabuo ang 384 na beneficiaries? 278 beneficiaries mula sa kinder at 106 beneficiaries mula sa grade 1 hanggang grade 6 at SPED learners. Out of this, meron tayong 16 severely wasted and 119 wasted. Pinagtibay po ito ng aming programang Oplan sa Timbangan, kung saan with coordination sa mga barangay na nasasakupan ng paaralan, na nagawa naming matimbang ang mga bata. Ang ugnayan at suporta po ay lalong napatatag dahil sa MOA signing na naganap. Ramdam po namin na pare-pareho ang adhikain ng bawat isa na may bigay ang wastong nutrisyon sa kabila ng kinakaharap nating pandemya. Ano po namin na-manage yung funds po ng nutritious food packs at milk po. Ito po ay sa pamamagitan ng pagtulong po ng ating mga SGOD medical team. Tinulungan po kami at ng kanilang mga team para hanapin po ang aming mga supplier ng gatas at tinapay. Isa po dito ay ang pagkuha po namin ng Malus Bakery nandito po sa Imus, na which is qualified po siya at certified po siya ng DOST. Yun po yung mga tinapay na inihihain po namin sa ating mga kabataan. So, yung may budget po dyan na nakalaan, kung nakikita po natin ngayon sa ating screen, yan po yung mga budget na nakalaan para po sa ating nutritious food packs. Ganun din po sa gatas po na mula po sa Gentry, yung Carabao's milk po natin, ay yun po ay sa tulong ng ating mga medical health personnel ng ating division office.
So dito po sa ating drop-off point, no, usually po dumarating yung mga gatas ng 6 a.m. and then bago po siya ma-distribute sa ating mga schools ay ine-ensure po natin na maganda yung gatas as to the quality and content po nito.
Orientations of implementers, involvement ng bawat isa ay mahalaga at nakuha po ito sa pamamagitan ng comprehensive orientation kung paano tatakbo ang programa. Pinulong po namin ang mga magulang ng beneficiary, SDO personnel, mga guro, tauhan sa paaralan upang ibigay at ipaunawa ang kanilang roles and at kaakibat ang duties at responsibilities. Pati na din ang progreso na tatahakin ng ating programa. Nakipag-ugnayan po kami sa aming mga internal at external stakeholders. Nakakataba po talaga ng puso na dahil sa activity na ito ay nakakuha kami ng suporta mula sa kanila. Sa mga distribution of commodities naman po na mayroon tayo, ay isa po sa pamamaraan ng pagkakaroon namin dito ang pag-implement po sa mga magulang. Unang-una po, meron po kami tinatawag na group chat. Yun po sa mga bawat magulang ay may mga ugnayan po sa aming mga teachers. So paano po namin nakama po ito? May mga text messages po yung ginawa po namin, yung mga advisors po namin para maibigay at ang impormasyon na kung paano kuhain yung mga gatas po dito sa school po at ang mga tinapay. Pagkakataong hindi nakakakuha ng nutritious food packs at mga gatas ang mga magulang. Isa-isa sa mga programa natin ay ang sugod bahay sa barangay ang ating ginawa, kung saan personal naming inihahatid ang mga gatas at tinapay sa mga bahay ng aming mga beneficiaries. Ito po ay naging posible dahil sa magandang pag-ipag-ugnayan ng ating local government unit. Nandito na po tayo ngayon sa Medition 2B kung saan karamihan po sa ating mga beneficiaries ay nakatira po dito sa tulong po ng ating barangay kapitan na si Eduardo Monson po. Tara, pupuntahan po natin ang kasama po natin ang ating mga kasamahan po. Para po sa monitoring and evaluation ng ating SBFP, nagkaroon po tayo ng FGD o Focus Group Discussion right after every activity. Para po sa feedback sa ating beneficiary, mayroon po tayong open line communication sa kanila gamit ang iba't ibang social media platform like Messenger. Survey form ay isa din po sa paraan ng ating ginagamit, and with this, makuha natin ang boses ng lahat upang mas lalo nating mapaigting ang implementasyon ng programang ito. From and accessible sa lahat, ito lagi naming target. So what we do to gather reports by maximize use of online platforms. DepEd account ang aming gamit ng mga guro at sinesend namin ang aming mga files sa Google Drive. Easy harvest and real-time accomplishment reports ang aming nagagawa. In liquidation of funds, we strictly follow the process and guidelines stated in DepEd order. And Accounting Department ng SDO Imus ang namamahala sa pag-liquidate ng funds para sa mga gatas. Constant communication and involving them with what's happening in our school, lalo na po sa implementasyon ng SBFP, is our way of maintaining good and harmonious relationship with our stakeholder. having the sense of ownership and treating them as partners at kabalikat sa pagpapatupad ng programang ito. At dahil po dyan, lubos po ang aming pagpapasalamat sa inyong suporta. Despite the pandemic, na-hit po namin ang target goal of achieving 97% ng mga bata ay manormal ang BMI level. Reaching 100% of our beneficiary is one of the reasons kung bakit namin ito nagawa. And I consider this is our best contribution in enrichment of SBFP program implementation. Hindi ko ito magagawang mag-isa dahil ito sa tulong at suporta ng lahat na nambubuo ng SBFP at dahil dyan, nakabuo kami ng SBFP 9 Innovations. Implementing the process of SBFP is a shared responsibility. Each and everyone has an important role to play. Walang maliit o malaking ambag. Lahat ng bagay po ay pinapahalagahan. Effective and efficient, yes, dahil sa tulong at suporta ng ating local government, sa gabay ng ating departamento sa SDOIC Imus, sa dedikasyon ng pamunuan at mga guro ng Governor D.M. Camerino Integrated School at lalo't higit sa mga matibay na pakikibahagi ng ating mga magulang. Our micro efforts will have a macro effect in implementation of this program. And with that, I can say effectivity and efficiency is 100% achieved. Having a strong support system is one of the best practices we have that I can share with my fellow SBFP focal person.
Nagagawin natin. Kundi ay sa paraan to na gawain ng ating paaralan.
Tunay nga na nasa atin yung pag-asa.
Another one is Oplan Timbangan, isa sa SBFP 9 Innovations ng aming paaralan, kung saan sa pangunguna ng aming BMI coordinator na si Maribel Alokina, nagawa naming kunin ang sukat at timbang ng aming mga beneficiary at sugod bahay sa barangay. Inilayo man tayo ng pandemya, sa mga batang ito, nagawa naman naming ilapit namin sila sa paaralan. Having an idea of having an online platforms like messengers, isa sa pinaka-innovations namin sa paralang ito ay ang pagkakaroon ng QR code. Dito namin napapatunayan at mapapadali ang ugnayan sa paghahanap ng mga forms at iba't ibang mga pamamaraan at mga records ng mga batang ito. Ang QR code ay isa sa pinakamahalagang paraan at mabisa at mabilis na pamamaraan upang mahanap ang mga importanteng dokumento ng mga kabataan. Since ito po ay isang gawain na binigay sa akin and not something I volunteered for, at first, I felt obligated to just ensure the success of the project's execution and nothing else. Pero ngayon, I have been the SBFP coordinator for past 4 years. Concerns has gradually come to the confidence of the school and the division of office to use my talent and skills to help eradicate the nutrient-deficient pupils in our jurisdiction. It helps a lot that our parents and our stakeholders are cooperative and thankful for the feeding program in this pandemic. But we have also encouraged our parents to look for a sustainable food source that we have. And we believe that in a saying that give a man a fish and he can eat for a day, but teach a man how to fish and he can eat for a lifetime. Yes, it's a priceless experience to see all your severely wasted clienteles gradually becoming normal in their nutritional status for the duration of the program. I also discovered with my colleagues that passion and dedication is innate to all teachers. With all of this, we bring back all the glory to our Lord, as He gives us wisdom and strength to fulfill His mission, and truly, we are here to serve and not to be served. Dahil dyan, bida ang kalusugan sa Batang Camarinian.
Certificate of Recognition is awarded to Mr. Roger Ian C. Demilio of Governor D.M. Camerino Integrated School, Schools Division Office of Imus as finalist, School Coordinator of the Most Outstanding Implementer of the School-Based Feeding Program for School Year 2020-2021. Another Certificate of Recognition is awarded to Mr. Jesus V. Bergado of Governor D.M. Camerino Integrated School, Schools Division Office of Imus as finalist, School Head, Most Outstanding Implementer of the School-Based Feeding Program for School Year 2020-2021. And Nurse Jacqueline R. Mararak, Schools Division Office of Imus City, finalist, Division Coordinator, Most Outstanding Implementer of the School-Based Feeding Program for School Year 2020-2021 Regional Level. Congratulations to our finalists! Thank you very much po sa ating mga katangi-tanging speaker para sa ikalawang araw ng ating One Health Week celebration.
Sa ikalawang araw ng ating selebrasyon, napakaliwanag na idinetalye ng ating mga naghuhusayang tagapagsalita na sina
Dr. Marifig Grossman,
Nurse Jacqueline Marara,
at Nurse Gabi Nieto,
ang tatlong flagship programs na tinalakay sa araw na ito.
Ang National Drug Education Program,
Wash, Sanitation, and Hygiene in School o Wash in School Program,
at ang School-Based Feeding Program.
Isa pong napakagandang talakayan ang napakinggan natin sa day 2 ng ating selebrasyon.
Talaga naman pong busog na naman tayo sa kaalaman, Pero hindi pa po nagtatapos dyan mga listeners and participants.
Samahan niyo po kami muling bukas, tumuklas ng bagong kaalaman para sa ikatlong araw ng ating programa.
Muli, ako po si Darwin Kamama.
At ako naman po si Lenny Baarde.
Magkita-kita po tayo bukas.
Tara na okay, Oplan kalusugan sa DepEd. Halina't alamin atin ang tuklasin, mga health programs ating palaganapin. Tara na okay, Oplan kalusugan sa DepEd. Halina't alamin atin ang tuklasin, mga health programs ating palaganapin. School-based feeding program ating pagtibayin. Wastong pagkain ating ihahain, mga batang kulang sa timbang. Ating pakakainin ng Go, Grow, and Glow. Adolescent reproductive health ay gawing gabay at patnubay ng batang mausisa ay di maranasan. Ang early pregnancy ay maiiwasan. Kalusugan ay mahalaga sa edukasyon ng mga bata. Tayo na't magkaisa, halina tayo sumama. Tara na okay, Oplan kalusugan sa DepEd. Halina't alamin atin ang tuklasin, mga health programs ating palaganapin. Tara na okay, Oplan kalusugan sa DepEd. Halina't alamin atin ang tuklasin, mga health programs ating palaganapin. National Drug Education Program or NDE kung tawagin. Ito'y paigtingin, mga bisyo'y alisin. Sigarilyo at droga'y dapat nang puksain. Water sanitation and hygiene in schools ating kompletuhin, 3 stars ay abutin. Malinis na tubig, segregated na toilet, group hand washing at may napkin na rin. Kalusugan ay mahalaga sa edukasyon ng mga bata. Tayo na't magkaisa, halina tayo sumama. Tara na okay, Oplan kalusugan sa DepEd. Halina't alamin atin ang tuklasin, mga health programs ating palaganapin. Tara na okay, Oplan kalusugan sa DepEd. Halina't alamin atin ang tuklasin, mga health programs ating palaganapin. Medical, dental, and nursing services na atin ding binibigay upang matugunan problemang pangkalusugan ng mga guro at kabataan. Kalusugan ay mahalaga sa edukasyon ng mga bata. Tayo na't magkaisa, halina tayo sumama. Tara na okay, Oplan kalusugan sa DepEd. Halina't alamin atin ang tuklasin, mga health programs ating palaganapin. Tara na okay, Oplan kalusugan sa DepEd. Halina't alamin atin ang tuklasin, mga health programs ating palaganapin. Tara na okay, Oplan kalusugan sa DepEd. Halina't alamin atin ang tuklasin, mga health programs ating palaganapin. Okay talaga sa DepEd. Okay talaga sa DepEd.